Hello everybody, and welcome back to Encounter Roleplay. My name is Will, I'm a D&D sex icon. I'm back today for yet another episode of Kobold Press's World Tree Burns. We're back with another full cast and crew because Josh has left us to be a terrible friend. But I'm here, and the rest of us are here, and that's the most important thing. So let's go around the cast and crew, let's figure out who we are, and of course, who we're going to be playing tonight. Dan, Dylan, our DM. How's it going, my friend?
It's going all right. It's going all right. I'm excited to be here. I'm ready to play some D&D. I am Dan Dillon. Welcome, everyone, and I will be your dungeon master for this evening.
Fantastic. We also have Laurelania back with us tonight. Tia, how's it going?
It is going great. My name is Laurelania, and I'm the world's greatest role player. Josh has left because he's on his way. So, yay, you didn't claim it. You just said fucking sex icon, so snatch, that's mine now.
That's just two McLokens now. Wow, that's...
Oh, dear.
That's weird.
Oh, no.
What a shame.
All the skill on this screen is suddenly gone.
I mean, I'm not complaining. I mean, this show needed a little bit more beards.
I've been working on it the best I can. Josh is actually flying across country soon to come and see me, so that's why he's not here. Do not listen to Will's fucking lies. But I'm going to be playing Kari of the Cat Domain. She is a cleric, and she is a shadow fae, which is basically like a tiefling drow, and it's a unique race to Midgard. And if you don't know all about Midgard, well, you're doing it wrong, and you need to go and check out Kobold Press immediately, because this is one of the most fun 5th edition D&D campaign settings that you could possibly play in. I'm going to go back to my frickin' zucchini eggplant lasagna now, because I'm starving.
Good. Amazing stuff. We also have Cold School with us tonight. Cold School, how's it going?
Hey, I am doing great. I am looking forward to this as always. I am playing Glazashin, who is our Trollkin wizard geomancer, who is kind of a little bit surprised even himself with how well some of the things went in the last episode. So we shall see how this moves forward onto the new and excitement that we have.
Fantastic. And of course, we have McLoken with us tonight. Loke, how's it going, buddy?
I'm not here. I am only here because you perceive me to be here. And what are we but perceptions? But, hey, I'm playing Cloak.
That is such a gnome thing to say.
Oh, what are we just... But we're just perceptions in our own minds. Are we... Yes. Where did that come from?
That was fucking amazing.
I'll be playing Cloak tonight, who is a gnome who's not mischievous, and he doesn't wisecrack, and he plays it by the rules, and he never does anything wrong. Or lies.
Well, sometimes he lies.
Right.
Great stuff. Well, as for myself, I'll be playing Riodan, the Vampire Cleric, who was out last week, but now he's back, better than ever. And I'm here to have some fun and to see exactly what happened last time and how badly things have gone. I hear that I carried the team last week, despite my absence. So, you're welcome. But before we get to today's game, before I hand over to Dan, I remind you guys that, of course, we're sponsored today by Kobold Press, so go and check them out for your own Midgard 5e materials. We're playing in the world of Midgard and using the Hero's Handbook and the World Book as well, so definitely go and check out koboldpress.com for some amazing third-party D&D 5e supplements for your home games. And of course, as per usual, we're sponsored tonight by Fancy Grounds, our virtual tabletop of choice. You can go and check out their demo version for free. Then of course, wellinggames.co.uk is a go-to destination for tabletop board games and war games. Check them out for up to 20% off. Last but not least, we're giving away a set of tabletop loot dice away every single game this season. There's over 200 sets of dice to be won, so stick around until the end and check out tabletoploot.com as a sponsor of the show as well. As per usual, you can interact with today's show, so retweet this tweet here. And of course, you can donate to affect the game as well by giving players Nat 1s, Nat 20s, Wild Magic Surges, and Leroy Jenkins. But I will hand over to Dan Dillon, our illustrious Dungeon Master, to take us into tonight's episode, and of course, to remind us what happened last week on the show.
Righto. So, last we left our heroes, they were in the Cartway's Black Market, and they were in search of a mercenary leader by the name of Vandesian Thrick, who is the leader of the Blackshields mercenary company, a group that they know had hired out some soldiers on one of their first outings together in this campaign, and they ran afoul of these Blackshields mercenaries along with a group of quite nefarious shadow cultists and other shady figures dealing in dark magic and murder beneath the streets of Zobek. And so things have kind of come full circle, and they're getting down to trying to pin down exactly who that mysterious figure leading that particular ring down in the Cartways was. And the Blackshields are their only real lead at this point. So they found themselves in the black market on what was apparently going to be a rather banner slave auction night. That is what had drawn Thrick down into the Cartways on that evening. And the main event of that auction was a group of creatures that were unknown to our heroes and probably to many of the people in attendance, but they're known as ghost folk. Great hulking humanoids, muscles on muscles, jutting lower jaws and yellowed tusks, savage, powerful, would make amazing warriors if you can get them fighting for you. You'd probably have to break their spirit some first. Or pit fighters, gladiators, shock troops in an influential family's house guard, that sort of thing. Any number of uses for brutal and bestial fighters such as these ghost folk warriors. And as our heroes were sort of making their way around and planning their approach on Thrick after locating him in the crowd, things took a hard left, as apparently the ghost folk had compatriots that had been tracking them from wherever it was that they were captured and brought up closer to the surface where they almost never come. And a magical assault ensued that broke the ghost folk free of their shackles and actually turned the chains, now animate, against the Darakul slavers who were holding them, and just all hell broke loose right there in the middle of the slave market. There were fireballs, there were ice storms, there was ley line disruption of the ground and of the auction stage. There was shadow magic causing people to become confused and wander around as Glazishin willed it, rather than where they'd want to go. And really just a chaotic, confusing welter of blood and magic and death. And that's sort of where we pick ourselves back up now, yeah. Riodan was a little bit out of sorts. I think he'd gotten too deep into his cups, even after being up for 3 days straight and drunk when he arrived. So, that was going to happen. He might have found one of the illicit substances vendors as well, while nobody was keeping a close eye on him. And his presence was made known at one point, however, when I would say probably saved Kane's ass, when those lashes of blood sort of came out of nowhere and exsanguinated one of the ghost folk warriors that was looking to take the other Dampir's head off. And so that is where we find ourselves now. At the moment, the chaos is still pretty high. There is screaming and panic. You can see now that the Darakul slavers have gotten free of the chains that have finally gone slack since the Ghost Folk spellcaster's concentration was broken when she was forced to turn an ice storm loose to cover against the other guards that were coming to kill her and her compatriots. And she and the chieftain, who was pretty badly wounded, and she was near death at that point between your onslaught, she and the chieftain teleported away. Now, a reminder that in Midgard there is no such thing as long-range teleportation. So in D&D terms, the best she could have managed was something along the lines of a dimension door. So she's still somewhere in the region, but with all the tunnels and caverns in the cartways beneath Zobek, I believe the decision was made to not try and track her down. She and the chieftain escaped, as did one of the ghost folk warriors who managed to make a break for it into the tunnels before he was killed. The guards and soldiers that weren't either killed or greatly delayed by the ghost folk's magic did manage to wound several of the other warriors who ended up falling before your various onslaughts, your blades and arrows and spells. And so they are now very quickly snapping to and restoring order now that the immediate threat has passed. And you can see that the Darrakul slave master in that black robe over his armor is throwing the chains off angrily, and you can see these great raw tears at his wrists that don't really seem to bleed. Where the animate shackles had grabbed onto him and pulled him into this tight bundle with the another kind of cadre of his guards that were there. And you can see some of those Darrakul legionnaires using their halberds to block people away from the stage and push people off. So where are you guys? How are you guys wanting to regroup?
I think we were kind of like, you know what, we don't want to stick around as the Darrakul are asking lots of questions. I think we were saying still get out and running was kind of the plan, because I know I yoinked my little scroll case or my little items from the shop that had the artifact. I was thinking that so the slaver captain is alive. I thought that he got ripped in two. Was that someone else?
The slaver captain was not ripped in two. One of his guards was.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
The only reason I ask is because Glaz saw that he had magical armor, and that might have been worth going back for. But if he's alive,
no, he is still alive, so to speak.
The guy that was Thrick.
Yes.
Can I roll perception to see if I can see him in this chaos?
Okay, yeah, you can go ahead and give me a wisdom perception check to see if you can spot Thrick. And you know what? I'm going to give you disadvantage because of exactly all of the chaos and the fact that, you took your eye off the shell while while all of that craziness was going on.
That's understandable. Let's see what we get here.
Hey, not bad.
Level 16.
All right, that's a 19. All right, so Cloak, you actually... I'm going to say that given your stature, you kind of scramble up, your choice on what you want to climb on. You can grab onto one of those scaffoldings nearby that the guard platforms are up on. There's a few of them that have been swept clear of guards by the ghost folks' magic. And the ice storm, thankfully, at this point, the great, massive, grapefruit-sized chunks and shards of ice have evaporated so that you can move through it and you're not trying to climb on anything crusted in ice. So you can climb up on one of those, or you could get up on a stall, or maybe climb up onto Glazishin's shoulders, however you want to do to get kind of a look over the crowd. Otherwise, pretty much all you're going to be able to see is crotches and knees.
I think he would definitely climb Glaz's shoulders and stand on top of it and get and
that's
peering out into the distance.
All right, so Glaz, you
give him a boost even of.
Yeah, you're startled for a moment as you feel a weight kind of on your side, and you look, and it's Cloak kind of scampering up your robe and planting his feet on your belt, and so he scampers up to your shoulders and kind of places a hand on top of your head to steady himself, and then starts scanning the crowd. And I will say that across the cartways, since it all is very well lit because of those continual flame chandeliers that hang up from the vaulted ceiling, you can see Thrick and the person who is sitting with him at the table, as well as 3 other individuals that you don't recognize. I mean, they just could have been faces in the crowd, but they are definitely taking a formation around Thrick at this point, all 4 of them kind of in a 4-point defense around him. So he apparently had other bodyguards nearby as well. He's pretty far away at this point. He's going to be on the other side of the cartways, and if you recall, it's kind of a long vault-ceilinged chamber with these 10-foot by 10-foot square pillars that run down the center. The slave auction stage is built around one of them, slave pens around another, and then farther down toward the other end, you can see one of the pillars actually has a staircase built around it that winds around and up to what looks like a house that's up on the ceiling, built around this pillar hanging there.
And that's where they're going?
They're near the stairs of that house. They are not going up those stairs, however. And it looks like... oh, sorry, go ahead. Are
they stationary, or are they moving like...
Yeah, at the very moment they're stationary. However, they have this look like they're getting ready to beat feet. They're sort of leaned together, and they're having a little bit of a huddle or a conference, even as the 4 bodyguards are keeping an eye out on the surrounding people and crowds. And the crowd, as people push past them, a lot of people are leaving the black market at this point. They're coming through the tunnel where you guys kind of made your way, and Tia and let's see, Kari is definitely near the corpse of one of the ghost folk, because it was in your face when you guys slew it, as well as several others scattered around. And you can see some of the black market guards heading your way, a mix of Darakul and living people.
I'm still kind of on my hands and knees because I've been bleeding profusely from getting thunderfucked by this thing.
That's right. Yeah,
so I kind of...
Kari was driven down to one knee.
I even after casting a cure wounds on myself, I'm still bleeding from different places, and I'm sure I've got a broken bone or two. But not wanting to appear the weakling in front of her friend, she kind of grunts through it and stands.
That's when Glaz feels something warm on his head, and it's Cloak's blood like spilling out onto him, and he's like, "I don't think we should go after Thick right now."
Yeah, Glaz.
Come here, darlings. I'm gonna start dropping a kill.
At this point, Riodan sort of sways his way, almost Jack Sparrow style, out of the throng that's kind of drifting off to one of the other.
That imagery is so good. I'm sorry.
Perfect.
The eyeliner is also perfect. That's how I picture him right now. It looks like he's been crying drunk in a corner.
That was fucking incredible, let me tell you. Oh my god. Right, why is everyone bleeding? And I'm gonna...
Yeah, so Riodan, you're not really sure what's going on here, but your friends are fucked up.
Oh my god, it's Drunky! Oh my god,
You look more messed up than I feel. Right, let's see. I'll drop a cure wounds onto Carrie if she looks like she's maybe the worst right now.
Pretty sure Kari and Cloak are bloodied at this point, still below half hit points.
I'm at 20 wounds out of 25.
He's gonna, I look better than he does then.
Well, I have a rib cage probably sticking out from when the fucking ghost folk hit me.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. In that case, yeah.
So occasionally, when you've seen Cloak fight, he fights with his weapon in one hand. His other hand is usually wrapped around his red cloak that he uses almost like a duelist's cape, kind of to whip around and parry blades and distract his foe. Every now and then, his cloak seems to move of its own volition, and you guys have traveled and fought together enough that you've started to notice this every now and then. It's very subtle, and it doesn't happen terribly often, but you start to pick up on it over time. And you can see that on the left side, the hem of his cloak is sort of balled up and pressing itself into his side to staunch the flow of blood from one of his wounds.
Bloody hell. Come here. You, give this a go. See if this still works. Try that. Oh, balls. My magic is clearly a little off. As I heal him for 4.
I think you should drink more.
He reaches out to touch you, Cloak, and he kind of misses the first time and closes one eye and then comes back at it and manages to put his hand on you.
Blood heal. There you go. Feel better.
Seeing that Riodan is healing him, I'm going to go ahead and cast Cure Wounds at level 2 on myself.
All right.
3.
So throw another. Yeah, there you go.
3. Yeah, that'll put me almost back to. So I feel my bones like knitting together and being revitalized, and that kind of.
The wolf sort of spreads through your body, and it just washes away the pain and fatigue, and leaves you with just sort of a dull ache where these terrible wounds were before. The rest of you can hear a little pop as one of Kari's ribs sort of snaps back into the correct alignment and heals.
Gross.
Cloak, up on Glaz's shoulders, you kind of he's frozen. Is he still here? No, he's moving. All right, good. You're just still as a statue. You can see as you kind of look up after taking your healing from Riodan, you can see that Thrick and his guards are sort of scanning the crowd, and he looks directly at you. Like his eyes sort of lock onto you from across the room as he's scanning across.
Can I roll a deception here? And the deception is to make it seem like as we were to make it seem like I was scanning and our eyes met at that moment and look at him funny, and then kind of start scanning.
You were staring at him. You're trying to cover that you were staring at him.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Give me a charisma deception.
I rolled a 6, so that would be a 9. It fell off the board.
Oh, that's fine. All right, 9. So, hard to tell. Maybe he bought it. It's kind of far away. You can't really get a good read on his expression. But he does kind of lock gazes with you and continues to look at you even after you kind of move your eyes past, like you were trying to make like you weren't really looking for or at him. So his attention is currently on you.
Well, guys, I think this is the point where we need to, and I'm like kind of like talking on my altar. I think we need to explain out of here because Strick is staring at me right now, and I'm like looking at like the sea and like looking up at the thing, but like having him in my peripheral and like going like, I think, and I don't think we're in a condition to hurt right now. I don't know about you guys. What do you think?
Glaz at this point, if he's gotten his pearl and and I see that we now have Riodan, and I assume that we've got everyone is sort of together now. Everyone has been saying all along towards the gate, out of here. So I think Glaz is like, I think we should go. This was was very lucky that this does not go much worse.
Yes,
I need a nap. It is time to leave.
And
also,
that looked really, really bad, Kari. And you're dripping on my head.
It felt worse than it looked, Glaz. But you did very well. I'm so proud of you.
Well, I'm pretty good at making it tough for people to chase after me. It's an old skill from the school days.
From where
you're the
that
big guy, they like to play.
Hard in half for a second.
They like to play Pile and Trollkin.
Well, why don't we go and pile on to sleep?
Thrick can see Glaz right now, right?
I mean, Glaz stands a little bit over most of the crowd. Well, all right, a fair bit over most of the crowd. But, I mean, does Glaz tend to walk tall, or does he kind of slouch down a little bit when he's walking and talking with his shorter compatriots?
I mean, I think he probably, in this case, since Cloak has crawled up there, probably, I think we've probably done this for him to get a better view of, even if it's just the way to the library or through the crowds. Mm-hmm. He's probably standing tall.
But like say when Cloak hops off, because I think Cloak, you said you're intending to get down. Is that right? Or
no? I'm intending for everyone to run different directions because that's what you do when you cheese it and you get found by the fuzz, man. Got it. At this point, like, he would take note that Thrick can see Glaz and Cloak.
Yeah.
So he would be like, Glaz, just turn around and start rocking. Just turn around and start rocking. Just turn around and start rocking.
Well, that's what I was planning on doing anyway. You don't have to tell me that. I'm ready to get out of here.
Yeah, no, because bad people might be chasing us, so we should go.
Well, I can cast another spell if we need to, but it probably is
God,
better
have to
at this point.
catch me up on all of
that I
this
should
when
be
I'm
more
sober.
subtle.
I'm sorry, Glaz. Subtlety is not your specialty. Let's go to the hedgehog. And he's purposely not trying to move his mouth because he doesn't know.
Well, remember that your mouth is mostly covered by your mask, so you're pretty good on that front.
Okay,
you are essentially not lip readable.
He's like, "Oh, do you want to go back to the Silk Scab and go play a game with that one lady?"
Well, at this point, I just want to be not here.
Well,
we should get out
Kari
of here.
starts walking away.
Yeah, it's such a nice day, Chloe, and it's such a good day, and they went and ruined it.
So I'm going to. I know that Cloak was talking about everybody going a different way. That sounds like a recipe for you all getting hopelessly lost in the cartways, since you guys pretty much know the way you came in here, and that's about it. So
yeah, that's the only way that Kari knows to go. So that's the way she's leaving. The way that she sees
so
it is there was just a big fucking comeuppance, and as long as we leave, they probably won't follow us. And if they do, we can jump them in the tunnel.
Okay, so as you guys are heading out, Cloak, you kind of take a subtle look back, and you can see that Thrick is trying to move through the crowd in your direction, but isn't making very fast progress because of all the people and guards and everything, just all the brouhaha happening in the black market right now.
Okay, shit. I had an idea, but I'm not a rogue, and I need my cloak. So,
yeah, you don't want to take that off.
I have an idea. So, as there's already been a ton of disruption and there's been this black pearl and everything else, Glaz, sort of right at the sort of throat of this, seeing as the ground is already all kind of messed up, is going to just throw some mold earth at it just to make it difficult terrain, if I can, as just a cantrip, just to make it, just to sort of scatter more stones around, to sort of make it even more that maybe some of this crowd, people will trip, that type of stuff, to sort of make it more and more difficult to get across.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so as you guys walk, Glaz starts muttering and like snapping his fingers and holding his palm out over the ground, and you can see that the bricks that are kind of laid into this almost herringbone pattern that make up the floor in this tunnel leading into the Cartways Black Market, the bricks start to shake and then shift themselves up and down in these random little juts that make it pretty difficult to walk over and create lots of little gullies and crannies to catch your toe and roll your ankle in.
That might help. Let's get out of here.
And so you guys make your way down the tunnel. Whoever's keeping an eye out behind you, the last thing you see, far, far down on the other side of the black market, around that pillar with the staircase and the house built up at the top of it, a door at the top of the staircase opens, and you see that dapper Darrakul that you folks talked to in the cafe. Radu Underhill sort of cautiously looks out of the house and then steps down onto the stairs, pulls the door closed, kind of straightens his clothes, and starts coming back down into the market. And that is probably the last you see of it as you turn, as you head down into the darkened tunnel and turn a corner.
That person that knows that we have the drugs went back into the courtyard. I don't know if I would be so confident going back in. It seems strange.
Way too high for all of this.
Not high.
Well, that was certainly convenient that he was not in the fray during that. I'm so glad that our new friend didn't get caught up in all of that horribleness.
Yeah, nobody was paying attention to him, but he cut out at the first sign of trouble. He noped on out of there.
It might not be so impossible because he works in the area that he would have a quick escape route.
It was very crowded, but he probably knows how to take care of himself. I'm sure there's no way he could have known that such a horrible thing was going to happen.
I don't know. Sometimes if you're wise, you can see danger before it happens, and either A, you're in the thick of it, or B, you get the fuck up.
That would be a very useful skill. Perhaps I should try to learn this at the college.
So as you guys make your way out into the tunnels, it strikes you as strange how relieved you are for that sort of dank, musty, sort of moldy, wet smell in some of these tunnels that fills your nostrils. And you don't realize until this moment, due to all the chaos, how fast everything was happening, all the adrenaline, that what you were breathing back in there was basically just this thick musk of burnt hair and charred flesh. in the wake of that fireball that engulfed probably 30 people in, a relatively enclosed space without a whole lot of airflow.
Smells like home once a month.
So you guys can make your way out of the cartways, and
for the time being, you could give me the pearl. If someone saw you using it, they might come after you.
Well, you're welcome to have it. It is quite useful. And it is shadow
kind of
magic, which
open
is
up
your bailiwick.
No one is better at magic than you, Glass.
And I say, and I
so
put
the pearl at this point, remember, it's still icy cold whenever you pick it up, and at this point, it's not really pouring darkness. Yeah, it's not pouring darkness off it anymore, but it has like this just sort of faint. It's like, imagine black cigarette smoke just sort of wisping off of it onto your palm and then pouring down off your hand. Yep. All right. So you can snatch that up, and you guys can make your way out of the cartways and head wherever you would like to go to recover and figure out what your next move is.
So we can go back to the hedgehog, or if we'd like to go. What time of day is it at this point? We waited till nighttime, right?
So the auction itself started at midnight. You guys got there a little early to kind of recon the place, see if you could find the guy you were looking for, and just kind of get the lay of the land. So when the ghost folk were brought out, it was midnight. There was a half hour of showing off the wares time, and then all hell broke loose. So we'll call this probably... by the time you get out of the cartways, we'll call it 1:45.
I think I might. Shall we go back to our room at Miss Kettlewhistle? Miss Kettlewhistle's? I could use some rest. I'm kind of tapped after all that spell casting. It was quite strenuous, but well.
Back to the fuck house for me. If anyone wants any more administrations and healing, then I suggest you come along with myself, and I'll do my best to stay awake and heal you.
As you say that, you look at Cloak, and as he's like out of the cartways and we're out of the cartways, Cloak is like...
Is he asleep on glass?
Yeah.
It's happened before.
All right.
That is both simultaneously precious and what the fuck.
Yeah. All right. So it sounds like everybody wants to go turn in for the night and then kind of regroup the next day.
Yep. Glass will just, for expediency, because he actually does have a level 1 spell slot left, will actually cast Identify, or I guess I'll open up this little pouch and scroll tube that I yoinked.
Oh, sure. All right, so inside, as you pick it up, it's basically just a plain, unadorned leather scroll tube. As you kind of heft it and move it around, you can feel something rattle inside. You pop it open, and you can see that there is, in fact, a scroll or roll of parchment of some sort tucked in there. And in the bottom, there is something loose and relatively heavy, just kind of shaking or rattling around inside there.
Well, that is interesting. He dumps it out into his hand.
Kind of pour it out. All right. So what comes tumbling out of this boiled leather tube is quite heavy when it plops into your palm. It is a little tablet of iron, probably 2 inches by 1 inch, by about, I don't know, 1/4 inch, a little more thick, and it has a rune stamped, hammered into one face of it.
Is this something that Glaz maybe have seen in Bimia before?
So your Bemian scholar background focus is in runes and like runes and glyphs, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, then then you recognize this without any particular check or anything like that. This is a Northlands rune, and hear the capital R when I say rune. This is one of the rune magic, runes, and this one.
Glaz gets a little chill. Ooh.
So this one you recognize as the rune Awaz. It represents horses, freedom, and the Nithing pole. It looks like an M. That one.
Okay.
Yep. So So you know that, this if you learn how to properly invoke this rune, it can create interesting magical effects, and you might have to take some time studying it to really unlock the properties of this word, this rune, and learn how to bring them to bear.
Yeah. Glaz is very excited, and he wants to tell Cloak, but Cloak is sleeping, and so he just sort of, but I will tell you in the morning. And
then you almost forget that there is, in fact, also a scroll in the scroll tube.
Oh, yeah, he probably is. He's probably going to try to find some place to put it, like inside of one of his pouches and stuff, and picks up the scroll case thinking, oh, I'll just store it here, and goes, oh, right, and sees that there is a scroll inside.
Yes. Okay, so you pull that out and take a look at it, or are going to worry about that later? All right, so you pull it out, and why don't you make me an intelligence arcana check?
Okie dokie. Arcana. Ooh, that's only a 6.
Not so good. All right, so there is an interesting sort of when you pull the parchment out and unroll it, there's an interesting kind of arrangement and diagram on the sort of the top part of the scroll, and then some incantation below it. At first glance, you're really not sure what to make of it. You'll probably have to spend a little time, carefully going over it to see what its deal is.
Yeah, with it being magical.
But I will tell you, with that, it does not look like a spell scroll.
Oh, okay. It does not look like a spell scroll. Okay. Diagram on top, incantation below.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, if you want to cast Identify on it, you can.
Okay. So I will. I've got it with my last first level spell slot. I will go ahead and cast it, not even do the ritual because he's about to go to bed.
Okay. So you take a moment, you speak the words, you run the pearl over the parchment, and the ink glows this bright sort of orange to your sight, and the meaning of it just kind of flows into your mind. This is a scroll of protection from aberrations.
Ooh. So I'm not typing it.
That's sure. That's in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Basically, anyone can read it. It creates a bubble around you that aberrations cannot enter.
Very cool. Although that you never know what you might bump into when you're out outside of the city. And he puts that in, sort of again one of his little pouches underneath of his big sort of moose skin that he uses as his spell book. So,
sure.
If it's all right with Riordan, because I think I gave all my gold to the rest of the party in one of our previous episodes, I'm going to go and crash in his room and just like catnap at like the end of the bed, kind of just curl up and just be like, good night. Even if I'm sleeping in like full armor. It's been a long time since we've slept.
Fine by me, darling.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, so you can all make your way back to your respective abodes. Galez, once you get home, Puff Puff is sort of prancing excitedly. You can actually hear her claws kind of skittering against the door as you're walking up the walkway, and then there's and she teleports. She appears outside the door, sort of jumping at you and yipping happily.
Cloak is asleep. Let's let him sleep. You can say hello to him tomorrow morning. He'll be good.
So when you say that, she stops jumping, and her tail continues to wag and knock into your leg and the door frame as she goes by. But she calms down a little bit and goes quiet. So she follows you inside.
Yeah, we've had quite an exciting evening. I will tell you all about it. And
it's nice to have a dog that can let herself out when you're gone.
Yeah, absolutely. So Glaz actually, sort of puts Cloak on his bed, on Cloak's bed, and then Glaz, Glaz is one of those people. It takes a little bit of him to like wind down because his brain is just kind of always on. So he does sort of like quietly tell the story of their day to Puff Puff, because that's who's listening right now. And that's
Puff Puff sits and listens attentively, and even like gives little yips and not really whines, but dog noises sort of at appropriate moments.
gives me the questioning look when I need to elaborate. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I skipped over that part. Let me remind you. So we were there, and there was this Mr. Underhill guy, and he knew all about that stuff, that kind of sticky, stuffy, pasty stuff that was like a mushroom.
Powder.
That is very expensive stuff. Yeah. So anyway, I could reenact the whole thing, but we all know what he's doing.
Yeah. We know what happened. All right, so the two of you heading to the Silk Scabbard. In the course of all of that business, you've kind of gotten separated from Kane. Not terribly concerning, you know, that he just kind of goes off and does his own thing fairly often, probably better than half the time. So he's gone off to wherever he's going to go hunker down and lick his wounds, because he I think took it the worst of anybody in there since he ate that fireball full in the face. And you two sort of peel off, and thankfully the entrance to the cartways where you guys come from is not terribly far from the Silk Scabbard, so you have just a short walk through the relatively pleasant spring night. There's sort of a low cloud cover that's rolled in, and it smells like rain, but it hasn't sort of opened up yet, if you know what I'm talking about. Just this kind of cool breeze and this just sort of refreshing sort of smell of incumbent rain that kind of, despite, you know, the weather, it just kind of gives you that pickup. And so you make your way to the Silk Scabbard. At this point, Riodan, you're probably coming down nicely and getting back a little bit more to your senses. And that's when you realize that you have a little bit more of whatever it was you've been smoking. You apparently bought enough for a bit. And maybe tonight's not the night for it.
Why do I do these things? I don't know. I know why.
I could hang on to it for you. I say, reaching out my hand.
Oh, I don't know.
Perhaps save you from yourself?
How about we just damn ourselves together, darling? Wouldn't that be more fun?
Corey thinks for a second. She's not really a drinker, but she's not opposed to opening up for experiences. Everything is an experience. She kind of seems like she's on the edge about it. Like she's not really sure to say yes or no.
It's absolutely awful, but the best thing you'll ever do.
All right.
So, Riodan, this stuff that you bought, you know that it's called Akori, A-K-O-R-I, Akori. And it is basically, you smoke it, and it's a moderate hallucinogen.
I think at this point we don't take it, but we like set like we say like a drunk day.
Yeah. Fantastic.
It's like a rationing how much we have left to
this
use.
Is just like college, man.
If we have just enough for this meeting, this high on Friday.
Yes, right.
It's been a bit of a night already.
Yeah, we take it at 9 p.m. It hits in at 10 p.m. We get to the club at 11 p.m. Yeah, it's perfect.
I'm laughing because I've seen that on TV.
Glaz has no idea what you are talking about.
Yep.
To always follow
Tall
the
Squall just gave us the dad head shake.
All right. So you guys are admitted to the Silk Scabbard with no trouble. It's pretty well into festivities there. So when the door slides open, just that wall of sound of people out at the bar, out at the club, just sort of rolls out and hits you. You go in. There's people at the bar. There's people at the gambling tables, both on the first floor and at the second. You can hear shouts of joy when somebody wins a hand, and groans of dismay, and the clink and clatter of coins changing hands when they hit the table. And it looks like there's a pair of pit fighters, one of them dragging the other out of one of the arenas. And so you guys can kind of push your way through and make your way up to your room. Riodan.
Absolutely. I would love that.
All right. So you guys can hunker in for the evening, get yourselves a nice, delicious long rest, recover all of your resources, and get your hit points back. You'll wake up in the morning, some of you feeling bruised and battered, but much better than you do now. In particular, Riodan, you're going to feel like a new man in the morning because I think it's 2 days since you last slept. So he's probably going to be dead for at least 10 hours. And maybe you can rouse him about that point.
Undead,
I like
actually.
that when Reardon wakes up, he's like, well, let me tell you about the theorems of life. And then he's like a scholar. And then he starts drinking and diffuses into his normal Reardon self.
Right.
Ray wakes up. Right, that's why I do terrible things. Did I? I look over. I look over and Carrie's standing in the bed.
God, I'm still asleep at this point, so.
Yeah, you wake up and Carrie is sleeping at the end of your bed. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like
Standing up sleeping.
Still in her armor.
Is it Friday night already? I look outside.
What day is it?
I hear him waking up and I kind of raise from my reverie.
You should be so lucky, I say. Now, where's a wash basin? You need one worse than I do.
Arcane would be so jealous of me. Yes, that's a good idea.
Oh, and if you're looking for a luxurious experience washing up, there's the Stross public bathhouse, actually not too far from where you guys are now, which has ranging from simple baths to like full spa treatment, private kind of deal.
Don't mind if I do, actually. It's been a long and smelly road, and I don't think Kari has had a bath since before she went to go and see, what's his name? I have it written down here. Ambassador... Nope, not on that one. I have a lot of notes here. Ambassador. Fuck. Okay. Fuck. Nope, I'm not going to know it off the top of my head.
Yep, Ambassador Philandry.
Nope.
Philandry.
Nice try, though.
Nope.
It's a
No,
mouthful.
it started with like a weird E. It was a long one.
Glendon
Felandasser?
Thelamandrine.
Damn it! Thelamandrine. It's my fucking notebook. Yeah, I haven't showered since I've been over to Ambassador Thelamandrine's house, so I'm actually going to, if I know the city well enough to know that that is there, I'm going to the bathhouse, Raiden. I need a wash.
Good idea. I like going to the steam house and pretending that I'm there to touch people.
You have issues that cannot be solved by therapy.
I'm joking, of course. I'm actually there to touch people.
Can I incite him to see if he's joking?
Your guess is as good as mine. Sure.
That's a 20, dirty.
I'm joking.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
feeling much more
selective.
comforted by the fact that he is joking. I'll kind of nod. I'll take off my armor and leave it in the room because these doors have locks on them. It's a pretty sophisticated place, right? I don't want to take everything with me to the bathhouse and then change there and have it in risk of being stolen, etc.
Yeah. Riordan's room totally has a lock on it. So if you want to, I mean, you had a room in the Silk Scabbard as well. If you wanted to re-up that arrangement.
Did we pay for it? Yeah, I might re-up that arrarrangement. This was just because I was dead fucking tired and wanted to leave and get to sleep right away. So
you didn't want to deal with
for
it last
now.
night.
Yeah, for now I will leave my stuff in Riordan's room, and I'm going to actually go walk over to Cloak and Glaz's room and kind of on their door.
So they don't have a room at the Silk Scabbard. They have a house down the way. Yeah, but you know where they live, so you can go. You can go. Check
Okay,
on
yeah,
them
so I'm gonna trips on them over there and then go knock on their door.
Sure.
Cloak would be outside.
You could go get breakfast first somewhere, and then hit the bathhouse.
I believe Miss Kettle Whistle.
They don't serve food at the bathhouse? No one's gonna feed me grapes while I'm bathing?
I mean, they might have little stuff. They're not doing full meals.
Okay.
She makes eggs and pancakes every morning for us.
I bet Glaz makes really good breakfast, though, and if he has a full house, I want to eat whatever Glaz is cooking.
Miss Kettle Whistle's probably cooking for us, and like Cloak would be like in a bucket, probably with like that's like being heated up. and like bathing in that. And he'd be like,
Oh, that
"What
brings
the-"
memories.
And
I spoke in a bucket. I just there's the fan art
Cloak
for
in
the
a
week.
bucket.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Just in one of those little wash tubs. Yeah.
So
I'll
I'll wait to
take it.
see if anybody answers the door after knocking a couple times. I'm assuming that Riordan's
yeah.
going to come with me.
Glaz actually is going to poke his head out of the main house, Mrs. Kettle Whistles, where he's been up early having coffee. He has early morning coffee with Miss Kettle Whistle, and leans out, hearing the knock, and unless you want to see a naked gnome, you might want to come over here.
That
would
is
only be
precisely
so
actually.
lucky.
That is precisely why I came. Well, not exactly
He's
why I
naked in
came.
there. He has a bucket.
Oh, wait. Me and Riordan are going to go to the bathhouse, class. You should come with us. Leave the gnome in the bucket if you must.
Oh, the bathhouse sounds nice because there's not a bucket big enough here for me. That sounds wonderful. And I looked at Miss Kettle Whistle, and I'm like, could I have a piece of toast? And he like makes a big old like breakfast sandwich.
Yeah, can you bring me a snack? Corey yells.
And I looked at Miss Kettle Whistle. Is it okay? Can I take some for my friends as well?
Oh, of course. I mean, if they want to come in and actually have some breakfast, they're so much more than welcome.
You're welcome to come inside.
Yes. She
Come on,
says
come
almost
in.
immediately.
Glaz is kind of like leaning out of a window, and you see a very, very short, halfling woman sort of. Whoop, her head pops up as she steps up like on a stool or something and looks out and says, "Oh yes, please, come on in, both of you. There's plenty. Coffee's hot. Tea if you prefer it. Come on in."
Ooh, halfling food, yes! I go inside super quick.
Yeah, this is
Oh,
like
yes.
seventh breakfast.
The only thing halflings can do right is food.
Aw.
Oh,
And
I'm not
all this
biased
salt.
at all.
Look at all this salt you're bringing into this halfling breakfast.
Yeah.
I hate
So, yeah,
halflings as a player, okay?
Oh my goodness! So, all right, you guys come in, and the house is actually built to human proportions. So it's a medium-sized house, but the interior is kind of retrofit for halfling life. So there are little steps, kind of at places where it's difficult to get up to counters and that sort of thing for a shorter person. And so D has no trouble navigating all of the various bits of the house. So. She ushers you inside, and she has just kind of like slightly curly brown hair that's just sort of swept out of her eyes and held back with a little headband, just a cloth headband she's tied around it. And she ushers you all in and says, "Come in. Oh my goodness, look at you." She's looking at Riordan. You've gotten way too skinny.
I have been watching my shape, Miss Potwhistle.
Kettle Whistle, call me D, and she kind of takes you by the hand and brings you over to the table that have she has medium-sized chairs, so you can sit on those and sort of be comfortable, and she says, "Well, sit down. Let me get you something hot to drink and something very delicious to eat." And so she starts bringing out basically pancakes and eggs and bacon and fresh fruit that she puts on your pancakes, and there's a little crock of honey. All kinds of stuff going on there. So you guys can dig in and have a fantastic breakfast. And Cloak, whenever you finish your bucket brigade, if you want to join your
actually,
as well.
like as soon as they go inside, Puffwuffa would be inside with Miss or Sweet D. And then I would, as they like go inside, he would see this opportunity, go put on his armor, and then sneak away.
Okay. All right. No problem. So you guys can finish your breakfast. Where are you headed, Cloak?
Back
The library,
to
I
the
bet.
cartway. No, to the cartways to go
Back to the
see
cartways.
to
This is such a bad
tail
idea.
Thrick and his people at a very good distance if he can see them.
So, I mean, at this point, it's the next morning. There's almost no chance they're still at the black market. I mean,
No,
it's possible they've gone back there, but
let me look at the map. So yeah, it's morning. I would have to go back at late night, wouldn't I?
yeah, and there's no guarantee they're not necessarily there like every night or anything like that.
Where's the cartways on the map?
There is no cartways on the map. I mean, there might be an entrance here and there noted, but it's like that would be sort of like noting every manhole on a street map. You know what I mean?
So what I would spend the day doing, and Pop-Up's not with me.
Right.
I won't take Pop-Up to the cartways. I would just walk around nonchalantly and not going super complicated. Always like kind of looping back around to where I started, to where I know, and kind of like learning the area a little bit. But taking a note where there is the most people with the black shield tattoos.
So, all right. So you're looking around for you're just looking around for members of the Blackshields.
Yeah, and kind of figuring out where they all hang out and what was up with that nice house that went up the stairs as well, and like maybe asking around about that and like being like naive.
Okay,
that's my plan. Kind of intel gathering and then getting out. Not engaging anyone.
So,
you know?
Why don't you go ahead and make me a I'll go ahead and let you make a charisma persuasion roll.
Okay, advantage
for making your way around, schmoozing people in and about the black market. So at this time in the morning, the black market is essentially dead. There's really not much going on there at the moment. There are a few individuals that essentially live there, but other than that, there's not a whole lot of commerce going on.
Why did that not work? I rolled a 17. I felt like I rolled it on the board, but let me try it again.
That's okay.
I have advantage clicked. Hold on. That was only one roll. Let's try it again here. Oh,
hey, there it is.
Okay.
Nice.
So yeah, crit.
Okay. So let's think of what all you were looking for. You were trying to learn more about that house built around the pillar, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is very easy to figure out that is actually Radu Underhill's house. That is where he lives. And with that check, the individual that you're talking to is actually a kind of a teenage tiefling girl, and it looks like she's sort of cleaning up both around the Cobalt Cafe and also the Cut Purse gambling tent. She kind of stops and chats with you a little bit, and you mentioned that house, and she says, "Oh, that's Mr. Underhill's house. That's where he lives. He's probably there now. I wouldn't necessarily want to disturb him unless you have some pretty important business or an invitation." She kind of looks around and makes sure nobody is nearby and overhearing, and she leans down and says, "So he has things in the house that protect it. You'll want to be careful of those. I saw someone try to go in and steal from him once. No one has ever seen him again, and yeah." She like the color from her sort of orange skin pales a shade, and she says, I don't ever want to see anybody going up there again."
He's like, "Oh no, I was just curious, because it looks cool, and I was like, who does have that cool house?" It's more, you know, so I see these guys with these tattoos, and he like kind of leans in, and he's like, you know, it looks like they're like in a gang or something. They got like a black shield on there, and can I roll perception to see if anyone has taken note to me talking or being down here?
Sure. Are you you're trying to be inconspicuous, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
It is morning, so 6.
Yeah, totally. You don't notice anybody paying particular attention to you.
So he'd be like, do you know where those guys hang out? What's their territory?
Oh, those are the Blackshields. I know that they come down here sometimes. Sometimes they have things to sell, but usually they're gonna be working maybe as bodyguards for a merchant or somebody who's looking for something a little shady. And this isn't the best place to come if you can't take care of yourself, or if you don't have somebody who can take care of you, keeping an eye on you. And she kind of gives you sort of a direct look like, But I've seen them down here a little bit. I know their boss comes down sometimes. He was here last night for the slave auction.
Resplendent offering.
Oh!
And that is a 20 donation. A 10 against an attack. What does a 20 get for violence?
Oh boy.
Hrothgar. You tell us, my friend.
So
it's a couple of monsters. You can let us know when you're out there. You can whisper me.
He's buying an encounter, I see.
Bad things.
I hope it's not one right now.
that'd be pretty brutal.
That's what you get when you split the party. 3 monsters.
All right, so so are we looking for a suggestion on what the attack is from good Hrothgar?
Yeah, Hrothgar, if you let us know over in the chat, you can whisper me and I'll forward it on to Dan.
Righto. Okay.
I would, but so when I'm talking to her, I would very much be kind of like looking around at the same time, be like,
So you said come down here. Where are they located?
Well, I'm not really sure what their territory or whatever is up on the surface. I do know that their boss tends to like the and she kind of looks over toward that little ramshackle building with those weird ass little blue guys, if you remember, with the wispy white hair. We're kind of trying to draw people in. She says he likes one of the one of the brothels up on the surface.
Do you know which one?
I don't, but it's one of the bigger ones. I know that.
which ones are the bigger ones?
So off the top of your head, she's almost certainly talking about Silk Scabbard.
Okay. Well, I'll take note of that. Okay. Where do they like to hang out down here, or do they just come down here for business?
Most people don't really hang out down here. I mean, she looks at the gambling tent. I guess some people do. They come down there. But I see some of the Blackshields like to go and lose their money in the cut purse, and a few of them sometimes like to buy stuff from a few of the out-of-town traders that come down here to sell things that you can't sell on the surface. Like some of them, I think, are a little bit too fond of poppy draft that comes from the south.
Okay. He would take note of that and he'd be like,
Okay. Well, I don't want to take up any more time. You seem very busy.
and then he goes to grab her hand, but he palms her a gold coin.
Okay.
And then goes,
you have a good rest of your day.
and then the rest of the time with that info, he kind of wants to get a grasp of the cartways in that general area, just in case they ever have to come back down there, and then make his way back. I don't know if Cloak heard they were going to the bathhouse. I think, yeah, he did, because Kari said something outside of the house while he was in the tub. So he would.
I was pretty loud about it too. So.
Yeah,
I want to see naked gnomes.
and then he would then go to the bathhouse because he figured they'd be there by now.
Okay, so as you're you said you're going to spend some time sort of hanging out down in the cartways and like familiarizing yourself with the tunnels and twists and turns and all that stuff that's down here, right? Was that correct? All right. Why don't you make me a wisdom survival check to see how well you can get a feel.
20.
Hey, dirty 20. All right. Okay, so you've got a. Do you want to check like all 4 of the entrances, exits to the black market, and just kind of get a feel for all of those sorts of areas too, not just the one you come through, right?
Yeah.
All right, then I'll say that you have a pretty good working understanding of the near vicinity of the black market and the surrounding tunnels, and I'll even say that you locate a second entrance exit into the cartways themselves up to Zobek, and this one will take you up into the market district.
Okay, hold on, let me get up my map. Where the one we came down, where is that located?
That was in Lower Zobek in the Ash Mill area. So basically,
You said the market district or the merchant district?
The market district. So you found one that's basically the one you guys know of is basically right about at the K in Lower Zobek on the map. The one you find is closer to the actual market square there.
Okay.
Like 2 alleys above the 37 on the map.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Yeah, I would then head back to the crew with this intel that we got. And I wouldn't go back down just to come out of Lower Zobek. I would go to the market district and find the bathhouse that they were gonna go get clean at.
Okay, so you're making your way down through the tunnels, and you can see well enough, even in the pitch black areas, by virtue of your gnomish dark vision. And you are making your way along one of these sort of tighter, more cramped tunnels when I am going to make a check. So you are startled when the silhouettes of 2 figures just sort of melt out of the darkness in a side tunnel in front of you as you're coming up, and they just sort of slide right in front of your way there. These 2 kind of burly figures wearing leather armor, and they have clubs just sort of held loosely in their hand, and one of them says, "Going somewhere?" And you hear a soft scuff of boots on stone, and you kind of glance behind you, and you can see 2 more coming up behind you.
So under my cloak, I'm already like unsheathing my sword, and just looking at them and being like,
"Oh yeah, just exploring around the city. What about you guys?"
You've been exploring a lot. You've been asking a lot of questions. We're not really interested in that. And as they sort of talk, one of them flips the hood open on a hooded lantern, so light kind of flares into the tunnel, which dazzles your eyes for just a moment, but you saw him kind of pulling it out from behind his back, so you were able to avert your eyes and kind of use the shadows of your mask to keep yourself from getting blinded by it. You can see kind of just rough and tumble mercenary looking fellows, and you can see a prominent black shield tattoo on one's neck.
And cloak at this moment and be like,
"Well, I'm sorry, I'm not stupid enough to not ask questions."
What is your intention in saying that? It sounds. Are you throwing barbs?
Yeah, because I'm cloak. That's what I do.
You're calling these guys idiots, right?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So the one sort of in front with the club snarls at you and says, "We'll see where you stick that nose after I break it off your face." Let's roll some initiative.
At that point, oh god damn it! At that point, when he's like snarling and like kind of like getting at his face, I wanted to lash out at him. But yeah, I'll roll initiative.
Yeah.
Where's initiative? Oh shit! I'm not doing well.
That's all right. I rolled a 1.
Okay.
So you're doing better than me. All right. So you're going to go first.
Okay, the first one that's like going down and it looks like he's like coming in as he's like yelling at me. Literally, Cloak is well. Actually, there's the guy with the lantern that opened it up, right? Is that the same one?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm actually gonna go for the hooded lantern.
Ooh, nasty. All right.
Yeah,
go ahead and just going to try and smash it.
I'm also using my ability, the one that I have that I because I'm a Horizon Walker. I forget what it's
Planar
called.
Warrior, I believe it's called.
Yeah, Planar Warrior. That is correct. So I'm adding that to it. So let's let me find the attack. My legs like spasming, so it's really fun. Here we go. 1d4, 1d1. All right, here's my attack roll. Fuck.
that's a 1. All right, so you lash out and you strike the. You know what? Give me a deception check first of all, because you were concealing that you were even drawing a blade.
Okay. Let me
give me a charisma deception check. Okay, so I'm going to give you advantage on that at first attack roll because they are not expecting you to go after the lantern. That was you're not surprising them, but that was enough of a shock that they're not ready for it. So you can roll that first one with advantage.
Here we go. I'll just roll this a second time and see what I get.
Yeah, just roll it a second time. It's fine.
I rolled an 8. It fell off. +4, 12.
That's good enough to smash the lantern. Yeah, it has a little bit of metal, but the operative thing that you're really working on there is the glass that shields the flame. So you lash out with your blade, and there's this. You reach out around you. There's so much darkness and shadow, and you remember Glaz telling you that the ley line that carries a powerful shadow road from the realm of shadows has been reopened, at least to some extent, and so that energy has begun to seep down into the darkness below the city. You grab a hold of that and weave it around the edge of your blade, and this time, instead of that blue glow that crackles around the edge of it, it's like as you swing your sword out, it grabs like taffy some of the shadow of your cloak on the wall and wraps around the blade, and that shadow just flows into the lantern. You smash the glass, and those shadows just reach out and strangle the light, and you're all plunged into pitch darkness.
And I'm using my environment to my advantage by being in darkness and being able to perceive, and hopefully they cannot as well. So their turn.
All right, so currently at least some of them are blinded. Where do you want to move, or are you good where you are?
So 2 of them were in front of me. I kind of want to get in position behind them, but will they get an attack of opportunity?
They can't. If they can't see you, no.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna get in that position behind them, especially the one with the lantern, and I'm going to and then wait there. Can I probably can't do another action, but I'm kind of like evading in the darkness and watching them and seeing if they are able to perceive in the darkness, or if they're just like blind as fuck, and then I'll make my decision from there.
Okay, so after you smash the lantern, you can see all 4 of them immediately go into this this kind of minor panic that you have very rarely felt yourself, but you've seen in all of these other, sort of daylight walking races more than once. It looks like they're all blind. You didn't get a good look at the ones behind you, but now that your eyes sort of adjust and the grayscale picks out of them, it looks like they're all 4 human. So none of them can see in the dark. And you you just kind of bound past the shattered lantern that you swatted out of the one's hand and spin around behind them, and you can hear the leader go, "Fuck! Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Get it lit!" So the bandits, one of them begins fumbling in his pouches. And it takes him more time than it normally would, but it looks like he's pulling out a set of flint and steel. The other 2 are going to come up and try to strike at you, but they are freaking blind. So,
do they know where I'm currently located?
Yes, you haven't hidden, so they know where you are.
Okay.
Like they can hear you moving around. You have to take an action to hide if you want to go unnoticed completely. So disadvantage. Yep, that's no good. All right. So that is two of the bandits, and then the thug, the leader, sort of turns around and strikes out at you with his with their clubs. He has second, yeah, and that misses too. So 4 attacks. You can see them coming, and they're throwing their attacks kind of in your direction, but you're using 2 of them as cover, and then that coupled with the darkness, you're just using your left hand. The corner of your cloak is lashing out and either snapping at their eyes and or grabbing the clubs in their wrists and throwing them out of the way, and then you're just parrying the others with your right hand easily. And so just a flurry of attacks come at you to absolutely no avail. Your turn is, as you can see, one of them has managed to fumble some flint and steel out and is now kind of groping around for the lantern, trying to relight it.
The one that was grabbing the flint and steel, I'm going for him.
Sure.
And I'm as he's like, cause he probably lowered as he's trying to like, you know, do what, like, as I imagine, because I would do that like with flint and steel, so that's in my head how I'm seeing him. I'm getting up like behind him with like his on his like shoulders and just like fucking stabbing down into his like neck and like shoulder area, giving like the soldier's death. But I'm also like standing him up as like a human shield at the same time.
Okay.
And using darkness for my advantage.
Yeah, of course. Okay, go ahead and make your attack roll with advantage.
All right, click this. For 16?
That hits.
I didn't say it this time. I was going to use my bonus action
You're
to add
using
damage to it.
Planar Warrior. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. 3, 7 plus D6, 1. So he takes 8 damage.
Oof. All right, so he screams. You don't manage to get the blade just past his collarbone. It kind of gets bound up in his armor and throws you just off the mark. But you do cut him very deeply, and you see this spurt of basically gray in your dark vision sprays on the wall. Against the wall, it turns into this black stain as it starts running down the stone. And he kind of lets out this gurgling scream, drops the flint and steel, and starts clutching at his neck.
Yeah, okay, so and I'm kind of like ducking behind him.
He basically panics at this point. He is extremely bloodied, and is kind of just like down on one knee trying to stem the flow of blood, and then his other hand starts groping for his club that he dropped when he went looking for the lantern. So he's having a real bad time right now. So you can kind of grab him by the hem of his, or the back collar of his leather armor, and kind of pull him into the way. So 2 of them are going to make attacks against you, still with disadvantage, and now you're using their buddy as half cover. That's gonna miss. What's your armor class with a +2?
19.
He misses you. All right.
Okay.
So that's 2 of them. Now the thug does not have disadvantage because he has pack tactics, so that just gives him a wash. So he might actually manage to hit you. He does manage to hit you. So you're going to take a cuffing from his club. So you take 6 points of bludgeoning damage. And a second for 3 points of bludgeoning damage. So he actually clocks you twice.
Okay.
And then it's your turn.
How much was that? 6 and 6?
6 and 3.
6, 3, 9. So that would put me at 15. 6 and 9, right? I'm not confusing that.
9 total. 9 total damage.
9 total. Okay, never mind.
Yes.
9 wounds. So I'm not bloodied. So do any of those blows, when they like try to hit me, do they hit my human shield and kill him?
No. Not really. No, they're just sort of like deflected aside.
Okay. at that point, the dude with pack tactics, I am going to. I am, because he can't see me either, and he's like stumbling around.
See you, no.
I'm gonna go and kind of do. Oh shit! This guy's like alive in front of me. But they're shit at fighting. I'm gonna go for him and get on his fucking side and like fucking stab up into it.
Sure.
And give an attack that way.
Using Planar Warrior again, I assume?
Yeah. But I'm also trying to get into a position where if I'm looking bad, I'm getting the fuck out of there and stealthing. So kind of giving myself a position of egress from...
Okay, yeah, at this point you've kind of gotten around behind them, so you have the open tunnel at your back, and then the four of them kind of jammed up in front of you.
Okay. So this is at advantage?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
They are blind and you are not. That's a critical hit, sir. So
all right.
2d8 plus 2d6.
Here's a d8. So 17 plus 2, which is 19, plus another 2, which is 21. Blackjack.
Oh my god. All right, 21, huh? All right. So you slash him low. You get under his leather armor, and you can feel the blade kind of drive into his across his stomach, and that you can see that swirling sheath of darkness that every strike you just sort of gather around your blade as it lashes out. Those tendrils reach into the wound and rip it open. He gives out a terrible cry. He is still on his feet. It looks like he's much hardier than the other ones, but he is very bloodied and looking like blood is pouring down over his waist at the moment.
And once again, he's my human shield from the other ones.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so we're going to have some disadvantaged attacks on you. Not even close. Once again, not even close. The other one that was nearby you is actually going to stumble away.
Okay. And
I think you can disengage from people you can't see. Is that correct?
Maybe? I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know.
That in my logic, I would say no.
It seems
you don't know
likely
what you're...
It seems likely that you need to be able to see them, but if you take the disengage
also...
action, your movement, there's no qualification on seeing. So he just kind of moves carefully and kind of ducks behind his buddies that he knows are fighting right next to him, and so he manages to bug the hell out. That's what he does with his turn. Then the fellow with the club, the thug, is going to strike out at you.
Damn, man.
One, yep, that'll be one hit. And that one will miss. Second one misses.
Okay.
So, bad roll. You take another 3.
Okay, that's
3 bludgeoning damage. So he kind of cuffs you on the shoulder, and he kind of looks down, even though he can't see anything. It's just instinct. He presses his left hand to his stomach and looks down, and you can see his eyes. Which, you know, when you look at people in night vision camera, their eyes just have this kind of big black kind of look to them. That's sort of what you can see. You can see these kind of vacant orbs in his head just kind of sweeping around as he's trying to look at his own blood on his hand and can't. So that's going to be back up to your turn.
As I catch him in that moment where he's like looking for whatever, I am bringing my blade up to his throat, and
if you're attacking, do so with advantage.
All right, clicking advantage. Let's do this. 14.
Oh, solid hit.
Okay. D8 for. Oh shit. That's plus 4. It's 7 plus the D6, which is 10 damage.
All right. You reach up, your cloak sort of lashes up, grabs the back of his neck and pulls him down, and you run your Nimheim blade right into his throat. and he chokes, tries to gasp, stiffens, and just slumps past you into the ground. The other two, the other three, one of them says, Krander! And there is no answer, and they sort of look at each other, kind of
what name did they
past
say?
Krander.
Krander? I think at this point, I would. Can I make an intimidation roll?
You don't really need to, because at this point, they sort of look past each other, and then just sort of at the same time stumble off into the darkness, running away from you.
That's what I wanted to do right before, like when they're like yelling for Krender, and there's that moment of silence over in that direction where I was. I'd be like,
"Are you done here? Krender's dead."
Okay, so that just sort of echoes in this tight, dark, closing in on them corridor, and they turn and bolt. They're stumbling over each other and over themselves, over uneven bits in the floor, trying desperately to keep their feet as they just run the hell away.
Okay, and then as they're running, I'm looting his body.
Sure. So in addition to the club, you also find a mace and a heavy crossbow. He's wearing leather armor, and he has a belt pouch that has some coins jingling in it.
I will take the belt pouch of coins. Anything else like hidden on him, or anything worth note? How much? I can't get much for the heavy crossbow. I can get quite a good coin for. I believe
you should be able to get a decent bit for the heavy crossbow.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to take that and hawk it, you can.
Yeah, I'm like on my way to the bathhouse. I would hawk it and be like, "Selling the crossbow."
Well, you're gonna come up in the market district in the morning, so perfect.
Oh yeah. So yeah, definitely. I'm gonna take like the mace and the club and like go to like Paula's Everforge is way across town. I'm gonna go to the person.
Her forge is way across town. However, she has a vendor stall in the market district.
I would go to her stall, sell all this stuff. But yeah, I would also. This is going to be really fucked up of Cloak, but he's going to take and he's going to write Infernal on his forehead with his blade. Chosen. No, not chosen. Fuck, what is he going to write? Ooh, so good. I don't know what I'm going to write. He's going to write something in Infernal. We'll reveal it later.
So are you carving something in Crander's forehead?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. It's in Infernal. He's writing "Stay away."
Oof.
Yeah.
All right. Nice.
And so it looks metal as fuck, but
yes, it does.
Yeah, but then as he's walking away, he's with the crossbow and mace, and he's like,
yeah. So this cheerful whistling just sort of echoes throughout the darkened Cartway's halls, punctuated by a few screams of terror and shock as one of those poor bastards stumbles, trips, or just runs headlong into a wall that he couldn't see coming. So a few minutes later, you come up in the market district in an alleyway, kind of brush yourself off, use the light of day to kind of take a better look, and there's a few blood stains here. Better kind of wipe those off best you can before you go out in public. No problem. And you stroll your way. Yeah, you stroll your way out into the marketplace, and you can find Paula Everforge, who's delighted to see you. She greets you brightly, and she will gladly take those things off your hands. And she even gives you a slightly better price than you would otherwise get somewhere else. Ooh. So for hawking the heavy crossbow and the mace, she will give you 30 gold for it.
Okay. And how much gold or how much money did that guy have on him?
So looking in the pouch, there is indeed a pile of gold in there. There are 27 griffins, which gold griffins are the gold coin of Sobek.
Okay.
So there's 27 griffins, 27 gold pieces in there, as well as a small vial with a wax-sealed cork in it, and there's a alchemical symbol on it, and it's kind of a thick, like yellowish white substance in there that seems to have a lot of like just stuff suspended in it, and it has an alchemical symbol that you recognize as antitoxin.
Oh, okay. I tuck this away pretty close to grabbing, just because people might try to poison me later. So yeah, he then be like, okay, thank you, Paula, and then make his way to the bathhouse,
The old Stross bathhouse.
Yeah.
All right.
I like to imagine by this time we're like lounging in the baths, maybe have like a couple of snacks being brought to us, and see like Cloak just coming back in fucked up.
Like covered in people's blood, and he just like gets in the bath and he's like, I had a morning.
Redan's got like prosecco and olive, and it's just like sudsing it out right now.
Yep. So in the old Stross bathhouse, which is sort of an older edifice, it's a lot of marble. There's columns in the entryway. There are I believe it's a 2-story building. Well, it's 2 floors. It's not 2 stories. The first floor is on the surface. The second floor is actually underground. And the underground space consists of several different chambers where the actual baths are. There are mineral baths that are fed by a natural spring that has this natural kind of mineral-heavy water that is said to be very therapeutic for treating all manner of ailments and for just replenishing the body's spent energy. There are plunge pools, there's a massage parlor, there are several lounges areas, a gymnasium, and then there are even heated pools as well. And also down there is a grand lounge, which is just just this open, almost like a salon, right? There's tables, there's all sorts of chaise lounges, there's art on the walls, and the interesting thing about this is it is open to absolutely everyone. It once served only the aristocracy when the Stross family were in power, but since then, and the aristocracy itself were abolished in Zobek. There are no nobles or nobility in Zobek anymore since the fall of House Stross. Now this place is open to everyone, and you can see councilors of the city rubbing elbows with dock workers, and even criminal element can show up here. There is a very strict no weapons, no trouble sort of policy here, and the very few times that policy has been broken, it has not gone well for anyone involved. So it's just sort of an understood that this place is, if you have troubles, you leave them at the damn door. So yeah, Cloak, you find your way down, and I imagine you find everyone in maybe one of the heated rooms where there's kind of a steam room and then cooler plunge pools.
Yeah, as soon as like he gets in there, he would like put his like armor away and all that, or like take it off like right there and put it like in a little pile next to it, and like gotten in the plunge pool and like started soaking himself, and he would take a short rest in here.
Yeah, absolutely.
How badly are you hurt?
I'm not bloodied. I took about 12 wounds in that fight.
Okay, so a short rest will do you okay. You're not in desperate need.
Yeah. Hold on. Where's the hit dice thing? What is my hit dice? D10, I think. D10 plus one.
Range of your D10s.
So, but yeah, he would relax in here with everyone. Let's see. What do we fucking got?
I think on Fantasy Grounds, doesn't the DM actually roll your short rest for you and your long rest?
You could just roll your hit dice.
Yeah, just roll your hit dice.
You can just roll your hit dice.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
So
and remember that you add your con to each one of those. Your con bonus.
I'm gonna 3, 8. Okay, I'm good. I'm back at 0. So as he's relaxing, and he'd be like, "I think the Blackshields are after us now, guys. So."
Why would they be after us? We had done nothing but try to avail the situation.
I don't even know who they
Thank
are. I was fucked out of my mind, quite frankly, and I don't know what was going on. So,
I mean, do you even remember how we met?
Yes, but I remember going down there, and we were going to find Mr. Prick, and then
Frick.
all gets a little hazy from there. And now I'm here. So if you could connect some dots for me, that would be very helpful.
Anyone?
Well, it was quite
happy
an
living
adventure.
this
Let
way.
me tell you all about this.
And Glass
That's what
launches
I
into the
thought
saga
that
that
was
was last
silly.
night. Yeah. All right. So as Glaz is launching into the saga of what the hell happened last night to fill Ryodan back in on the whole thing, there are other citizens here enjoying the baths, going into spending some time in the heated pool. Since it's kind of a chilly spring day, this area gets a lot of traffic. If you guys are okay with that, that's cool. Otherwise, you can find kind of more private areas in other areas of the bathhouse. There are masseurs and masseuses that kind of occasionally make the rounds in here, offering services to anyone who would like to take them up on it. And
I will start a
yeah.
tab and I take basically everything. Massage, manicures, hair, mostly because Kari isn't really that type of person, so she's very intrigued by all of it, and also because Glaz is talking and we're going to be here for a while anyway, so
So for somebody who doesn't get the full primp treatment every now and then, it can either be a revelatory experience or it can be a little uncomfortable or kind of somewhere in the middle. How do you think Carrie responds to that?
I think
having
for
her sore
the
muscles
masseuses
work
and stuff
through
like
and-
that, she would be all about it. But the second they start like trying to cut her hair or do her nails, she'd be like, "Oh man!" But she just kind of, since she requested it, she kind of sits through it and is a little awkward about it. But she is all about the masseuse stuff.
Okay, so she's pretty uncomfortable when they start.
Mani Petty while I'm there as well, by the way.
Oh, excellent! Yeah, absolutely.
Not a
I try to
Um,
copy Riordan's behaviors and to kind of take solace in the fact that he's doing it with me now, so I don't. Because
Okay.
the first time you try something and you're like, "What do I do? How do I sit? What do I do?" That's and then now she has like something she can lock eyes with.
So Ryodan is your guide through the world.
I definitely instruct her.
Decadent self-care. Yeah.
I've always wanted to do that, so and I want to go give her a makeover as well.
Oh, sure.
Oh god.
That sounds amazing. All right, so there's scented oils that the masseurs are using to work out all of your sore muscles, which, you guys being you guys, you have those in spades, and it actually feels heavenly when it's all said and done. You feel like just the blood and death that's kind of been steeped in your lives for the past several weeks is just finally washed off and cleared away. And as uncomfortable it is having someone else, brush the tangles out of your hair, Kari, which generally, probably you don't worry about too much. You just kind of keep your hair braided back out of the way.
People brush their hair?
Oh, yeah. So it's brushed and actually washed with soap. And then has these mildly scented oils applied to it. Yeah, all kinds of things. You get the entire treatment. Yep. So you guys can just kind of catch up, and
I queer eye Carrie. I give Carrie a quick queer eye montage. I just change around her life, and I give her, like a new hair care routine and like a new skin routine that she needs to be following, and I teach her how to cook.
Pieces on her eyes.
And this will stop.
Be like Cloak eating the cucumbers that you're supposed to put on your face.
Yeah.
Right on there.
They just
Amazing.
giving me the.
So there is a sort of and remember, so the baths aren't segregated by male or female and anything like that. So there are just people bathing hereabouts, and it's just kind of culturally accepted, and everything's okay with it. So I'm imagining Cloak is sitting there mostly naked, still with his cloak and hood on and his mask, just otherwise lounging in the shower
it's
of the pool.
There's like a head above the thing, and like the cloak just spread out.
Yeah, just
so it looks
spreads out. Yeah. It's
he's,
funny.
like,
Every time
bathing
he
under,
moves,
like,
every time he moves in the water, it's like his cloak seems to billow or shift or maybe float on the surface of the water, so the hood never really gets wet. And so you guys spend a great deal of time in there getting yourselves just sort of primped and pampered and reset and feeling a bit like new people as the time goes on. So if you have any next step you guys want to discuss, you can do that, or we can just sort of move along.
About that. So why are they facing us? And I kind of put a little
I don't know.
emphasis on the word us because you came back bloodied and fucked up. So
Turned out
It wasn't
like,
my blood.
the blood wasn't his, so that's good.
It was their blood. I was in the splash zone. So
why did they want to kill you?
Well, because they said I was asking too many questions, and I ask a lot of questions. I'm a very curious individual. And then
Trust me, I
when I
know
said
all
to
about
them, I
the
was like,
splash. I know all about the splash zone, but that was a lot.
yeah, no, it was. It was a pretty big guy, but I got right up under the rib cage, and
And I look at it as the other people are like talking to me, stare at him for a second, and I was like,
it got really in there, and I think I hit an artery, and it was like,
and then so I kind of go over what happened in the fight as like they all like say, and they put my whip in there, and I was like,
then I was like, they say, I'm smart enough to ask questions, and that's when shit ensued. So
Like carved this into his forehead.
let that part out.
Yeah.
That was not mentioned. But
All right.
that's it. The only part he does not mention is the infernal that he carved into the dude's forehead. But he was like,
and I saw Paula and all this kind of stuff. But remember when I was yesterday, it was like, hey, we kind of need to get out of here. It's because Thrick kept staring at me when I was sitting in Glass Head, getting a survey of the situation. I wasn't staring at him at all. I was looking around and keeping a peripheral on him, but he kept staring at me, and then they kept trying to chase us. So they might be trying to hunt us down. They like to hang out the Silk Scabbard. That's what I found out.
Interesting. I happen to know that place fairly well.
Yeah,
Yes, indeed.
Buckhouse.
So there are Blackshields in my fuckhouse.
Yes.
Apparently,
Now,
it's the intelligence Cloak is returned with.
I feel that I have failed to bring this up on more than one occasion. What the fuck were we even trying to do? Why were
Good
we going
point.
after this Thrick?
I was
The only
drunk.
thing that I want to do is use Glaz's brain to try and fix the Shadow Roads, which
I would
my
like to
ambassador
display-
is still waiting on.
I was terribly
let
drunk
me-
at the time.
Let me tell you, I actually tapped into it. Like Glass was talking about how
and he starts going into how the ley lines work and what Glass tells him, and like sounding all like smart. He's like,
the ley line under the city is actually tapped into the Shadow Road, and when I tapped into it, it's not like how Glass taps into it. It's more like I can see the weaves of all of it around, and I saw the shadow like billowing on the walls. And when I would slash at these guys, I would use it and would like ink off on my blade, and I would use it to like get in there and get a really good hit, do a little bit of more blood splatter on the wall. But
Well,
yeah,
that's what he's
it's
having.
it's really like shadowy down there.
At this point, you realize you guys have basically the entirety of this pool to yourself. The surrounding people and crowds have just trickled away over the course of Cloak's stories.
I have the desire to go back there immediately and resolve this issue, but I also do not want to run into these guards again.
And Kari
they're-
kind of looks at Cloak in a whole new light, like he's suddenly useful to her because he knows about what's going on with the Shadow Roads, as opposed to where they've always kind of had their little two-a-tete going back and forth.
What do you suggest we do, Cloak?
Well, if you want my advice, I say we go find Thrick, and then like look over at Glaz and like look at Kari and Reardon. Poor John. And then see who hired him. Yeah.
As a reminder to other people who are not too inebriated to remember the plan, the whole excursion into.
Did you take more drugs in the bathhouse?
Me? No, it's saving it for Friday night, darling.
Right.
Okay.
No, you have a date.
I just don't remember the past 48 hours. It's perfect.
Right. So the rest of you who did encounter Kane and Rioden in their state, you recall that it was Kane's sort of plan to locate Vandesi and Thrick to find out who hired those mercenaries that you guys encountered that were mixed up with that shadow cult, the people who stole the journal from the Arcane Collegium.
Right, back in episode 1. Yeah, I remember now. Kane got really drunk, and so did I, and he was like, remember those guys all the way back when, the bad guys? And I was like, yes, I remember them. They were awful. There was a guy with a sickle and the other one, and he said we should find out who hired them, and so we found Vandesi and Frick. We got absolutely wasted. I got super high. You guys did some other stuff. Cloak killed a few of them. Now we know that they are in the fuck house at times, so we can find more about them there.
Yeah, and then I had hold on, and then he like starts going through his stuff, and then he pulls out probably it looks like a little bit like blackened, but he like pulls out the skin with the tattoo on it, and he's like, remember?
Oh, well, that's from that first encounter that you sliced off that dude's neck. Yeah. All right, so what he pulls out is basically a slab of rotten meat at this point. So there's really not much.
Yeah.
And he just throws it over his shoulder.
Kari's not grossed out by it, but god damn it, Clarkin.
Oh, did you just throw it in the pool?
Yeah,
I think he threw it out of the. He's lounging on the edge of the pool, so he tossed it over onto the marble. Yeah, flop.
Just gross.
So now this room smells.
And I drink people's blood.
Oh God! Yep. Steam room with rotten meat in it. Oh.
Now you guys aren't in a sauna per se, but you're in one of the heated pools. Yeah.
Because we're never coming back here.
No, you're underground. You're underground.
Grotto.
Oh, we're underground?
We just slap your meat around here, Cloak.
I can't believe that you're the one saying that.
That was a good one.
I've never been charged. Now, listen, I think maybe we should ask around the fuck house here and there to see if they have heard of these Blackshields. Because if they're out to get Cloak, then probably out to get the rest of us. And it may all be connected back to that first guy with the creepy thing who teleported out of here and was all said something cryptic and scary back in episode 1. Remember that?
Well, and
why do you keep saying episode 1?
I think that's probably connecting them all together.
I am a bard, Cloak. Not by class,
you're a cleric.
But by nature.
Oh.
In the classic sense.
Wait. Are you chronologizing us in like a weird story?
My whole life is a story.
He's a vampire. It makes sense. Otherwise, how else is he going to remember things? Now, we haven't done anything wrong legally, right? So we could just go back to the cookhouse.
Darling, I've done so many illegal things just in the past 48 hours.
For it, though, is my point. We are still free to walk the streets.
I should probably keep a list of all the illegal things you guys have done.
I've done more illegal things than legal things, I think.
So I'm thinking what might be joining all these things together that we have not taken any time on, which might help us quite a bit, is the journal. We still need to decode that, and maybe we'll realize why they had the journal and were keeping it and why they wanted it, because, hey, for some reason they needed to have the mercenaries to guard it. Maybe we should know what they had.
So I will just to bring back. You have been working on that. It's just kind of slow going. So as we move forward, I've got
running around.
We keep finding a bunch of interesting stuff to get into that kind of delays certain things. That's okay though. All right. So if there's nothing else pressing at the moment, I think you guys have said that you can try to track them down at the Soak Scabbard, because you know that at least some of the Blackshields frequent that establishment. So if you have nothing else important to figure out at this very moment,
Back to the
If you
fuck
do, go ahead.
That is where I doffed my armor. Doffed means both on and off, right?
Doff is removed, don is put on.
Right.
Okay, so I doffed my armor in
Correct.
the fuck house. So getting back there, if we do get into a fight, I don't have any fucking armor. So
I imagine Riodan showed up to breakfast in like a Hugh Hefner smoking jacket. So
Obviously.
I would just like to point out the only two people
free.
they made from that is Glass and myself. So you guys might be safe.
Well, you know what? I'm a master of disguise, darling. So I can go incognito into the fuck house. And when I'm in the fuck house, it's difficult to differentiate which part is fuck and which part is house, if you know what I'm saying.
I bet that many
never know what
people
you're
don't
saying.
know that. I bet many people don't know that you're there when you're fucking them in the house. But I have a little bit more of reputation that I can hold on. My ambassador has given me his ring. I am a member of Glenanine Theldermine. I should be able to walk in without any problem. Perhaps even with Glaz and Cloak.
But it
Walk
might be
into the
smart if
crowd,
you didn't walk in with us right away, and then, or if
We are just talking about the silk scabbard, right? We've been in and out of there like for the last 3 days.
Yeah, but look at how bloody
And
he
the
is.
game
Or
that I have
was.
scheduled with Vela.
Always alone.
And he stands out of the thing and he's like, look! And he's like naked and he's like clean and he's like, oh no, I'm good.
She kind of like puts a hand over, but like peeks through an eye because she's curious because she's never seen a naked gnome before, and then closes her hand again.
Redak is a thorough examination. So that's why they call them rock gnomes.
I could have gone the rest of my life without seeing that. But I saw it.
all right. So you
So
guys
fuck
gather
house.
your things up and head back to the silk scabbard. Ian?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Composing ourselves. Sorry.
Is your plan just to kind of hang out and wait and see if Thrick or any other Blackshields show up and just kind of keep an eye out for them, or?
My
What's-
main
what's
concern
the
is
plan
going
there?
getting my shit from the room before we get jumped.
I mean,
So I just
easily
want
done. Remember, it's still relatively early in the day, like maybe noon. At the
These places are just a couple blocks away from each other from
Yeah.
where you told us the Silk Scabbard was on the map. It literally. Yep. I mean, we're at
Very close.
Let's head
33,
back.
and it's over by between 51 and 38. So it's, I mean,
Mhm.
we're literally only across Crown Square from the Silk Scabbard.
I mean, we can probably do other stuff for the day because I mean it's like 9 a.m. And I looked at a watch that I don't have. And
You've already murdered 2 men.
well,
9
one
a.m..
may be dead. He was bleeding a lot. The other one,
One
three of them
definitely
ran
dead.
away.
One might not
One's
make it.
definitely dead. One might, get an infection.
And always be
die if he doesn't find a cleric. So
Certainly if he's
Well,
going to the fuck house.
yeah, well, I don't know if they're in the cartways. Who knows what he's gonna find down there because he ran down that way. But I might just go to the library for a little bit, hang out with Puff Puff, and do some stuff.
Good idea. I'll stake out the fuck house and make sure it's all good.
Okay, yeah.
And if you drinks, maybe
I imagine they're not gonna show up until like the evening.
you never do know with
so-
these Blackshields. You saw some down in the cartways. So I think it's best that I stake out the perimeter and perform a security perimeter check of the area and the bar kind of thing, and a couple
You
drinks.
just have to go and get laid.
No, you should interrogate all the patrons there internally in your room, because that's.
I give
I hear-
Cloak a "you're not helping" look.
Not a bad idea.
So you guys head your separate ways wherever you wish to go. Cloak, you're going to do research at the library. Glaz, you're probably going to be working on the journal.
I'm actually going to work on it though at the Silk Scabbard, and if Vela is around, I don't want to mess up her normal rounds. But when I get if I get caught on the on the decoding, I will see if she's up for another set of games.
Sure. So Kari and Ryoden. Ryoden, we know what he's doing. He's going to be interrogating the bar.
I'm super torn about leaving Cloak to go anywhere on his own right now, because the last time he left for like literally 20 fucking minutes, he came back bloodied and he told us that someone is currently hunting us.
Well, we're wanted. Yeah.
Normally, Kari, I don't think would mind that much, but he also has just revealed to her that he knows stuff about what's going on in the Shadow Roads and the ley line beneath the city, and it's different information than what Glaz has been telling her, and Glaz has kind of been like, in his Glaz way, I guess the only way to say it is like overloading her with information. So I'm actually going to go with Cloak to the library.
Anything in particular you guys are going to be researching? Cloak, I know that you were working on the library. You were working on research on the dragon that you guys faced in the halls of Everforge, if I remember correctly.
Was correct.
Unfortunately, you did not roll well. However, as that research is still ongoing, if Kari is going to help you, I will count that as the help action, and you can roll with advantage. So you can roll another die and see if you get better than your nat 1 that you got last time.
Yeah. What history roll, correct?
I believe it was an intelligence history roll. Yes.
Intelligent history. Okay, let me click advantage.
Or Arcana, if you prefer Arcana, that would work as well.
I prefer Arcana because I'm more I'm in my history shit.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Yeah, if you prefer Arcana, you can do that.
Here we go.
Come on, Noonan.
15.
All right. Sure. No problem. Okay, so the two of you doing that research will kind of... So we're basically going to just kind of roll forward a few days here as you guys are alternatively doing your research, keeping an eye out for the people that you're looking for, because you're just kind of waiting for them to come to you at this point. Now that you've learned that, hey, at least some of them kind of frequent your what's essentially your home base. For lack of a better word. So over the course of the research, and Glaz, you will occasionally catch Valya. She, of course, has regulars that come to see her. You also notice, as you spend some more time out there doing your research kind of in and around that area, kind of backing up Ryodan in case the Blackshields show up, she not only sees regulars in the silk scabbard, but she occasionally goes out as well. And when she goes out, it looks like she is dressed to the nines. Now she keeps it kind of like covered with a cloak or like a mantle or something when she's in, but you could tell that she is dressed the hell up. A couple of times she's even escorted out by Tyron, the owner of the silk scabbard, kind of on his arm, and it looks like he is taking her to wherever she's going. So she apparently has perhaps private clients elsewhere out in the city, and you kind of through the course of just sort of paying attention to this sort of thing, you know that courtesans are kind of an important part of society in Zobek, of higher society. That it's seen as not only kind of a necessary part of some of the upper echelons of Zobek's just sort of life, but also a very honorable and respected profession, the courtesans and the courtiers. So she is apparently rubbing elbows with the influential families, maybe people in higher positions in politics within the city as well. So over the course of your guys' research, Cloak, you were researching just anything you could find about the dragon, right? Did you have anything? I can't remember if you had something like specific that you were looking for, or just kind of like anything you could find out about it. Do you recall?
Oh, he looks like he's frozen.
Uh-oh. Is he doing his mannequin?
Doing the thing.
He's doing his mannequin
Yep.
impression. All right. Okay, so we'll go ahead and jump over to the Journal of Verner Stross for a moment.
Ooh, yeah.
So you have begun to unearth some very interesting bits.
Cloak says he'll be back in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I saw that. Thanks. First and foremost, what you've begun to puzzle together in a lot of this coded information from the journal is Arcane Formula. There are spells coded in this book. And so if you just want to go ahead and jot some of these down real quick, you can kind of take a look at them later. But you will have unlocked written versions of the following spells: Black Ribbons, Cloying Darkness, Dark Bolt, and Shadow Blade. And that last one is from Xanathar's Guide. The other ones are from the Midgard Hero's Handbook. And they are all considered shadow magic.
Cool, got them.
And so now that you have those in written form, you spellcasters who might have them available on your lists will be able to learn them and use them. Additionally, in between these spell formula, you begin puzzling out some of the just sort of writings that Verner Stross coded into his journal. And what you're seeing is that he had begun having nightmares once he moved to, at the time it was called Castle Stross. And those nightmares started simply enough, but they grew over time, greater and greater and more frequent, and to the point that he was beginning to have waking nightmares, almost like these dream hallucinations while he was awake. And they all centered around this tree in the Stross castle courtyard. And the writings go on to talk about how the tree itself, he was convinced, was giving him these dreams. And beyond that it was a conduit to something beyond. And he came to realize that it was indeed a channel between Midgard and the Shadow Realm, and to something, some greater entity within the Shadow Realm itself. And it was that began to, or had in ages past, empowered his family to reach the heights that they attained. And for some reason, even though he wasn't part of that, at least to begin with, it had chosen him and wouldn't let him go. And he tried to ignore it desperately, to the point that he began to go mad. When he started having these waking nightmares, day in, day out, not able to tell if he was in a dream, if he was walking through waking reality, he started to converse directly in a fashion with whatever entity was contacting him through the tree itself, and he made a pact with it, some sort of bargain. And you can tell that's where all of this shadow magic started to come from. So clearly he made a bargain with Shadow, and it taught him to manipulate the power of darkness and the shadows of the Shadow Realm itself. And that really marked his rise to prominence, which was shortly before the revolt, where, as you know from the histories, every man, woman, and child of the Stross family was hounded out at the keep, killed, and hung from the walls. To include, as part of your research, so I'll say that you intersperse decoding the book with actually doing some historical research on the Stross family, and you find indeed records that Verner Stross himself was killed and hung on the walls of what is now known as Castle Shadowcrag during the revolt. He goes on to talk about how what everyone sees and believes of the world of Midgard, the Shadow Realm beyond, and possibly even all of the worlds that hang in the branches of Yggdrasil are not what they understand it to be, and that he has seen something greater beyond it all. And that is about as far as you've managed to decipher at this point. There's still yet more, and it looks like, so the gist you can get from this is that he achieved some sort of, it looks like half insane, half enlightened realization, and that sort of propelled him in kind of a different direction than the rest of his family was going. There is still some more to decode, although looking at the dates in the coded spots that you've had copied into this little journal of yours, there's not a whole lot left before the date of the revolt hits, and what is the date of his death. But you've sort of dug quite a lot of information out of that at this point, and there's still a bit more to be discovered. Kari, do you want me to go ahead and give you a little bit of an overview before Cloak gets back, or do you want to hold off?
No, we can do the overview. He said he was only going to be like 10 minutes, so probably by the time you're doing it, he should be back, theoretically.
So this one is unfortunately not quite as comprehensive as Glaz's because you guys had a just kind of a much more broad goal, and it was trying to find out something about this essentially random dragon. So it was a flame dragon, as you will recall. Where is my... There it is.
Got away that we didn't technically kill, and I'm not salty about that at all.
I mean, it looked kind of dead when it was tumbling into the collapsing energies of the portal, but there was definitely something weird happening on the other side. That is for sure. But it looked like Cloak dealt it a death blow.
Okay, good.
So,
because I've never killed a dragon in Dungeons and Dragons until then. So,
well, just for score-keeping purposes, you guys killed the dragon.
Yes.
Well, we'll call it official.
It was my first as well.
Hey, Sullywood, if it didn't die on screen.
It died on screen. You guys saw it.
I think Cloak is logging back in now. It looks like tears.
Cloak is back.
Hey.
But you know,
why
do
do you
recall
always
it's
have the
D&D,
best
so
on-screen faces? It's so weird. He never has like a or anything.
he never
He's
has
good to go.
Yeah, you're super
What?
good at it, man. All right, so in the course of your research, Cloak and Kari, you had to basically there's really nowhere to start if you're saying there's this like wormling flame dragon. Let's go find out stuff about it, right? So you started with the only connection you could find to it, which was the halls of Everforge. And what you discover about those, the records on them are pretty scant. It looks like the dwarves of Everforge did not have a whole lot of direct contact with any of the record keepers in Zobek. They probably kept pretty well to themselves. And now, given that you know that they had some sort of elemental power node and apparently a freaking portal to the elemental plane of fire, they kept that shit under wraps, and they weren't interested in the mages of the Arcane Collegium poking their noses into that business. But you do manage to discover that they had business with all manner of peoples and nations, if it was even just of a very restricted nature here and then. They were never a force to be reckoned with as far as a family goes. But you do find that they had dealings with the Marodi Empire, the Dragon Empire. And you come across a name referenced in one of their communications, you know, like basically like a work order kind of deal between them and one of the merchants that they dealt with from Marodi. And that name is Igbalnium. And I'll type that in chat so you guys can see it.
Igbalnium. Let's see if I can nail it. I spelled it Igbalium. Oh,
Close.
damn it. I was so close.
Neum. In Igbalneum. So,
Merchant, not the merchant?
at first you thought that was a merchant's name, but as you check some of the other records, that because they did some business in Zobek, so for tax purposes and the like, those had to be at least on some level recorded and marked. You suspect that there was a lot of under the table dealing, particularly because the Dragon Empire, even though they are officially not at war with Zobek, they're kind of at war with anyone who isn't a dragon or dragonkin. And so they do a lot of skullduggerous work, a lot of smuggling, a lot of spying, and a lot of their merchants, you know, are easily covers for spies and smugglers. But you found enough tax record, because they did some business in the city, to realize that that name is not the merchant they were dealing with. It was something else. And you find just a couple of references to it, and there are a few sheafs of paper, like handwritten notes, essentially, that kind of snuck in the margins of a few of these shipping orders and work orders, that you're able to put two and two together, that Igbalnium was the name of this dragon. And they were much more recent orders, not dated back when the halls were in sort of full operation, but maybe toward the end of that time. So this dragon, it's probably pretty old for the wormling that it was, but apparently it had dealings through merchants with the remnants of the Everforge family in more recent years. So you're able to pin down the dragon's identity, and that it had ties to a merchant dealing with the Dragon Empire.
Does that merchant have a name?
Yeah, sure.
Is it common for dragons in Midgard to, deal with mortals?
Well, there's an entire empire of mortals ruled by dragons.
Okay, so it's not like unheard of.
Oh no, not at all, not at all.
Okay.
They're like movers and shakers in the world.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah. I mean, they rule the dragon empire, and then anyone who isn't a dragonkin, dragonborn, or even kobold is, barely a second-class citizen. That's where most of your draconic presence is. There are other places as well. I mean, there are certain dragons that have the ability to take on mortal form. And so, who knows, that proprietor of whatever museum that you're dealing with, that might be a gold dragon who enjoys collecting art, that sort of thing. Right.
While we're finding the name, can I roll an insight on Kari? Because Cloak finds it very weird that she's taken an interest into him.
Okay. Absolutely.
And he just want to see if he notices that. A 12?
I mean, you're paranoid. Kari's pretty shitty about hiding her feelings and things, and she's here with you at the fucking library instead of the fuck house, so...
Yeah. I mean, good call.
Yeah, so what's the read?
12.
Yeah. I mean, she. If you're not trying, are you trying to hide your?
No, I mean, I'm pretty much
intentions?
glancing at him every now and then. I'm kind of leaving him alone to his studies. Kind of like, how a kid wants a cookie from mom, but they know they have to wait till she's off the phone to ask for the cookie, otherwise they're going to get in trouble. Like that. It's
right.
The same general kind of vibe.
Sure. Okay, so you notice that her attitude towards you kind of changed when you told the story about how you're able to manipulate planar energies to focus your attacks, but particularly she seemed to latch on that you were talking about the Shadow Road ley line in specific. So she has apparently some sort of interest in your dealings with that.
He'd be in the book and he'd be like, Carl, you're staring. What do you want? This is weird.
I want to know how I can fix the Shadow Roads, and I know nothing about magic. And Glaz is trying, but he is also distracted by whatever it is that you guys are trying to do here. And if I can fix the Shadow Roads, then we will be showered in riches by my people.
Also, the Shadow Realm would leak out into Zelbeck.
Not necessarily a bad thing. You enjoy my company, don't you?
Yes, but whenever Shadow Realm stuff is involved, they feel sick, and you ever get that achy feeling?
All right,
it also means
that
we won't be able to trade between our two people.
True.
And that could be terrible. The economy ruined.
There is a trade consortium, a trading house specifically for the import and export of goods to and from the courts of the Shadow Fae. So they're probably not having a great time right now. In fact, that is how most of you met, how all of you met, is dealing with dealing with one of those caravans.
If we cannot protect the Shadow Roads here, then they'll just leak through somewhere else. It's like it doesn't stop the flow of the shadow; it just redirects it somewhere else.
A quick aside: the name of that dragonborn merchant is Savaran Delmirev. I put the spelling in chat there for you.
Okay. That's a name I'm going to be searching for later. So as he's going and finding this information, he would look and he'd be like,
so, I mean, I imagine Laz is probably the best to do this. I can sense, portals. That's how I was able to find that pearl. And all that kind of stuff. I don't know if you guys know this. I'm a Horizon Walker now. So I'm pretty important and a big deal. Because there's not many of them. Yeah. But so what I'm talking about when I was down in the cartways and the shadows were leaking, I'm just able to manipulate fields of the planes through my advantage. Yeah?
If the shadows are leaking there, I might be able to go back and forth.
It's different with me. No, I mean, I can sense them and I can see them, but other people can't. I'm like attuned with them. And Glaz, he attunes with the actual line. He's trying to break this down to like Kari to make sense. He's like,
Magic and Kari are just two worlds apart. She understands that lines go straight.
Imagine there's invisible lines that run everywhere. Those are where ley lines are. Some are bigger, and that's where like Glaz can tap into them and use a lot of energy and channel that. That's why sometimes his spells go really well. Other times he can't really control it, and it can go bad. I, on the other hand, can see what lays on top. Like sometimes there's like different planes of existence. Like so with the dragon, which I found out his name is Aberrations. I'm gonna mess that up every time in this voice, but we're gonna call him Iggy. So the dragon Iggy, we sent him into the plane of fire where the brass people were hanging out, and they were just like, and that's the war drums. I don't know. Did you hear the war drums, or was that just me? That's what the drums.
Oh, I recall war drums.
Yeah, I heard the drums.
Yeah.
So that's a plane of fire. That place is like just made of fire. Like everything's on fire all the time. If you're made of fire,
like the shadow plane is made out of shadow, the fire plane is made out of fire.
Yeah, I'm sure mushrooms are really big in the shadow plane, but
delicious too.
Sure. That's how Glaz and I kind of differ from it. Like, if you have a portal you want me to find, like, okay, those frost folk, ghost folk, the ghost people that we fought, they're really ugly and big, and and we like killed them just yesterday. I don't know if you remember yesterday. It feels like a week ago, but when they disappeared, they used a spell called Dimension Door, which is like a short range gate portal that they got. That's how they escaped. I knew where they went, but I was too fucked up to go chase them. And I think they went down below. So I wasn't going to go deeper underground from where we were at.
It was a brutal combat that we were in, and you're right, it does feel like a week ago. It's amazing how well you can rest in the bathhouse. So,
my pores are clean.
Planes, and Kari's just kind of like holding her head, like cartoon anime style.
So he would go find a map. As you're going to say what you're saying, he's going to go find like a map of like known ley lines that he like would have at the Collegium. But yeah, go continue what you're going to say. Sorry.
No, because I have this Traveler in Darkness, I have advantage on Intelligence Arcana checks to learn about a particular Shadow Road and how it functions. Were there any Shadow Roads previously that were in the, like where Cloak was getting wailed on?
No. Well, all right. So Shadow Roads are tricky. As far as
I know that they can appear sometimes through like moments of great sadness or death or anything like that.
Right. So the Shadow Road, this one is kind of the name from which all others sprang, or at least it's named after the very concept because it's one of the most prominent ones because it goes directly to the courts of the Shadow Fae. The Shadow Road there's many possible ways that the doorway to it or from it can open, and you need to know some sort of proper ritual to make that happen. You guys have seen it performed once or twice when you were, traveling with those caravans that go between the realms. Or you've heard of magic items, little magical trinkets from ancient times that allow you greater control over use of Fae or Shadow Roads. However, those are incredibly rare, and if you have one, they are incredibly sought after. The entrances to the Shadow Road that you know of were not down below. They were either on the river or on one of the larger roads in Zobek itself, toward the north of the city.
All right. Kari kind of nods her head and takes all of that
So
into
it
account.
sounds like so you have Traveler in Darkness. You're able to grasp that what Cloak is talking about when he draws on that energy. He's not exactly pulling from the specific road or gateway itself. It's just sort of it creates an ambience, and that energy sort of bleeds through the local environment. So he's able to grab and manipulate those sorts of energies that just kind of stretch everywhere to even just a tiny extent.
For that's enough for Kari to want to go back down there and investigate again. She just kind of nods as though she understands everything that Cloak is saying, even though half of it is kind of going over her head.
And like, I imagine it's like he has a book in front of her and he's showing ley lines, and it's like wah 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 wah.
Every now and then she hears the word shadow, and she's like, "What? Yeah, okay."
So you guys kind of finish up your research for now, and you can all kind of reconvene and continue with the old the Black Shield Silk Scabbard stakeout. So a couple of nights pass, and one evening you're all present at the Silk Scabbard. Let's see, Glaz, you've just finished up a game of dragon chess with Valia. She just barely managed to beat you, and she took her leave to go and handle whatever she needs to do for the rest of the night. Cloak and Kari, you're probably comparing some notes over one of the things you found in your research, talking about the ley lines. And Riodan, you're probably chatting someone up over a drink and maybe playing a hand of cards, something along those lines.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So about that time, the gate, the front door opens, and there's that heavy muscled sort of bouncer keeping watch, making sure no trouble comes in. And you see what looks like potential trouble stroll right in. The sort of corpulent, slightly portly, muscular but gone a bit to pot form of Vandessian Thrick. You recognize him immediately from all of the stakeout and watch that you did of him down in the cartways a few nights past. He comes in. He has one other person with him. It's that woman that was seated at his table that you recall seeing. And he sort of steps in, chats a little bit with the bouncer, who kind of, banters back with him as if they know each other. Thrick claps the bouncer on the shoulder, gives him a wave, and heads toward the bar.
Am I there?
Oh yeah, you're there. You're there chatting with Kari at one of the sitting at one of the booths. So you guys all notice this entrance. It's not particularly boisterous or drawing much attention to himself. It really is kind of medium key given everything else going on in the Silk Scabbard of an evening. But you're on a bit of high alert, and he's the one of the people you're waiting for. So you twig to him immediately. He heads up to the bar. Oh yeah.
Oh no, I just wanted to ask before I forget to mark it off my character sheet. How much did the bathhouse run us gold-wise?
Oh, I don't know. We'll say you guys didn't go too extravagant. We'll say 5 gold for the lot of you.
Not too extravagant, but extravagant enough. I'll pay for it.
Yeah, if you guys really want to live it up at the Stross bathhouse, you can. So he heads over to the bar. He chats with the barkeep and orders himself and his companion a drink. She accepts it and kind of takes up a seat at the bar with her back against the counter, just kind of looking out over the room sort of nonchalantly. You all are seasoned enough warriors and adventurers at this point to know that she is very carefully scanning the room and keeping track of who's where and whoever might be drifting near her boss in particular. He kind of takes his drink. Looks like he's got something in the way of a mead in a bit of a kind of a large mug rather than a wine glass, and he just sort of he doesn't take a seat. He scans across the joint until his eyes fall upon.
I want to do this. This is what I want to do. As soon as they come up, I'm eating food and I see them and I see her. As I see the lady start turning around, I want to stealth up, unnoticed, and then as they both turn around, I'm standing right there in front of them.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So he kind of turns around and starts looking around, and then he just kind of starts back a moment, looks down at you, and cants his head to the side. and then smiles, this big, broad smile, and says, "Well, perfect. Just the man I was looking for."
Yeah, how's Corin?
I'm sorry?
Oh, never mind.
He looks over at his companion and just kind of gives her a look, and she relaxes just a bit. And he looks down at you and he says, "So, might I buy you and your friends a drink?"
Which ones are my friends?
He glances up and says, "The Trollkin, Shadowfey, and the Dapper Dampier. I don't see the bounty hunter, but that's fine enough."
Bounty hunter? Oh, right.
Kane.
I will say.
Oh, it's like we're all here.
He's gone for one
my
episode
friend.
and like, object permanence. It's just like, where do you go?
I heard drinks.
I'm a child, okay?
So
Fuck you,
he
dude.
he talks to one of the he talks to one of the servers and says, and he points over to the booth table where Kari and Cloak are located. And he says, "My friends and I will be taking that table. Come over in a moment, and I'd like you to take their orders. Put whatever they wish on my tab." And he sort of flashes her that broad smile again, and then kind of gestures to Cloak toward the table and says, "Shall we? Lead the way, friend."
If you're giving Riordan access to your tab, I hope you have a lot of gold.
He smiles sort of slyly and says, "Well, tonight we're all friends."
I look at Cloak like, are we all friends? Like, what's going on, buddy?
I just kind of nod at the moment because we're in a public area, so
Yeah, very public.
I think Riordan probably understands the only like I want to say ethics that's going on right now. It's like shady people like hanging out together. Right. Like they have like do not fuck with areas. Yeah. Etiquette. That's what I was looking for. It's very much like an etiquette kind of thing. Like you wouldn't go into a church and start pooping on the floor or anything. But
that's the first thing you think of with etiquette.
You wouldn't steal a car.
All right, so Glass,
dude, you had the high ground and you just fucking lost it so fast.
So Glass and Riordan,
life.
Glass and Riordan were off on their own. So he sort of kind of motions to both of you to come join.
Glass does. I mean, he comes over, and oh, look, it's who we were looking for.
And he sort of smiles back at you. He says, "Yes, I must say you did excellent work the other night. I've been looking forward to meeting all of you in person. Shall we sit?"
Wait, what work are we talking about?
Saving everyone.
In the cartways.
Oh.
That unfortunate incident at the auction.
Well, it was just a little bit of geomancy that I wanted to cast. I've really been wanting to try out that spell. It was quite handy.
So as you all get settled in, the server comes around and takes your orders if anyone wants to order drinks and take Thrick up on his offer.
Cloak has his own food and is drinking his own water that he had there previously.
Got it.
Glaz will order some mead.
Yep. So anyone who passes, he says, "The offer is open. Should you change your mind or require another round?" So, interesting few days. Interesting indeed. Well, I'll come right to the point. I was quite impressed with how you all comported yourselves when the ghost folk made their escape attempt. Well, for some of them, I suppose it was an attempt. Others, it was quite successful. Unfortunately, it seems the leadership survived. Perhaps we'll see them again.
Yes, that was quite a quick spell she came up with. To whisk them away. I was not pleased. She was not a very nice person.
I don't think any of them were nice, Klaus.
What I noticed is that of all the people present, you seemed to be the most quick to react and the most decisive to act. And I appreciate that. I value that. And I think there might be a place for that in my organization. If I read you correctly, and you might be the adventurous or mercenary type looking for work.
I'm looking at everyone else to see what their faces look like.
Is there a possibility of us learning something new by going on this adventure?
Oh, no, class.
Well, I don't have any particular adventure to offer you at the moment. I thought it would be presumptuous. So I wished to meet face to face, and then we'll go from there. But there's always
What is
opportunity.
it exactly that you want us to do? As much as I love being a civil servant, it's not what I was exactly born to do. I like to hunt. I like to move.
Oh, no, my dear. There's nothing civil about this service. I run a mercenary company, you understand. I supply soldiers to those who pay well and treat well. And you are individuals of rare quality and talent. I have clients, and I know of others, and perhaps there's an endeavor or two that could use hardy souls such as yourselves. And there's good coin to be earned if you're interested.
Gold is something that doesn't really matter to me as the rise and fall of civilizations. It doesn't have long standing. I'm more akin to my friend Glaz here, where I would prefer to learn and experience new things. What things can you offer for experiences?
Well, it depends on what you're interested in, I suppose. The Blackshields have taken work in various different places throughout the Crossroads, even into the 7 cities, up toward the Blood Kingdoms, depending on how feisty some of your countrymen are feeling. And he kind of throws a playful look toward Riodan. It seems there's always war brewing in the Dark Kingdoms these days.
Speaking of darkness, what about deep down in the cartways, below,
What district were we in the first episode?
Let's see. You guys were below the Collegium district, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Below the Collegium, there's an interesting place down there where there was some clientele I would just so happen to run into. They had lovely tattoos that matched, your companion over there. Who are those people? And can I roll perception? Or not perception, persuasion?
There's no particular need to roll persuasion at this point. Okay. So he says, all right, so I'm sorry, you encountered some of my people in the cartways.
Oh, yeah.
Whenabouts was this?
How long has it been? I have
2 weeks. It's been about 2 weeks, maybe just a little bit, maybe just a hair longer, yeah.
Like 2 weeks ago.
So he kind of leans back and he thinks, and he says, yes. And he wrinkles his nose, like as he recalls the particular incident you're referring to. It seems to not sit very well with him. That doesn't seem to be directed at you guys. It seems like he just is looking back on nasty business that he'd rather not, almost. And he says, well, as I say, we are mercenaries, and we hire our services out to those who can pay. I pride myself on being a decent judge of character and employers, but as a humble man, I will have to admit that sometimes I make mistakes. And it seems, in the instance you're referring to, I made a mistake. What I thought was going to be a very simple protection routine turned into be something quite a bit nastier. So I take it that was your handiwork, then, that left my men dead in the cartways.
Yeah, they had weird umbral tattoos all over them, so I don't know if they're really your men anymore. They might have joined that weird person's cult.
He kind of makes a face like he just smelled something foul and nods once, and he says, "Yes, they were hired. They failed to check in, and then they didn't return at what was supposed to be the job's completion."
What was the job's completion?
It was thereafter that my people found them dead. So, I heard about those strange markings, and he kind of looks around and his brow furrows. The dark things found in the cartways in and about that area. I think I don't need to go into much detail then if you were present, yes?
No. We were there, you know.
I am less than pleased that the Blackshields were drawn into such a sordid business. That is not our stock in trade.
I was more curious, who hired you for that job?
He smiles and looks at you, Cloak, and he says, before we get to that, should we discuss a few other of my men killed in the cartways more recently?
Oh, you mean the ones that are upset because they don't understand a curious nature?
Yes, those.
Kari puts a hand up to her face and just...
I mean, if they were more well-trained, I mean, I was just a weak little gnome.
Again.
And I do apologize, but, you know, when you get hit with the club a couple times, you have to make an example of someone. You probably understand.
He smiles
Kari's
and says...
hiding her face in a cup at this point because she just can't.
He smiles and says, apology accepted. But not entirely warranted. My men were stupid. They misjudged you, and they acted in a manner that was exceedingly ill-advised. Your handling of them is part of what impressed me so. When I realized that it was that same curious individual that I spied in the black market, who was later asking questions and had that unfortunate encounter with a few of my newer recruits, well, that was just far too intriguing to pass up. So my apologies for my men behaving so rudely, and let us think nothing of it.
It's rare to find a man that will apologize for his men's actions. You are different. And she raises a cup of water because she doesn't drink.
He returns the little toast with his mug and takes a sip, and he says, "Not at all. I'm the leader of these men. They're my responsibility. Their actions reflect on me, both good and ill."
Can I roll insight?
Yeah, absolutely.
May I also
I
roll
really
insight?
like this man.
You may, yes.
Again, he's very charming. I'm kind of picking up what he's putting down. Oh man, that's nice.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice to
And a
see.
net 20 for Cloak.
Okay, so we've got a 19, we have a net 20 resulting in a 23 for Cloak. Yeah, you guys get the read that he is being perfectly above board and sincere with you. He seems annoyed and a little embarrassed at the way partially at the way his men kind of handled that situation, also that they got freaking schooled as badly as they did. But that goes down to they misread that situation. They had no business screwing with you in the manner that they did, and at least some of them got what they deserved, and the rest will probably be better for it.
I mean, they're not all dead.
Correct.
So he would be like,
I think, water under the bridge, you know? So
Delightful.
Well, go ahead with your proposal.
Well, I've made my proposal. I suppose it's up to you to discuss and see if you wish to sign on with the Blackshields for any interesting, enlightening, and possibly lucrative work we have in the future that might benefit from your talents. But you expressed an interest in who hired the Blackshields for that sordid, shadowy business a few weeks back, nay?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's little I can tell you on that front. But I can tell you a little. The individual who approached me and who engaged our services for far more coin than I would have asked for, I might add, and perhaps that should have been my first clue that something was amiss. As I said, I admitted when I make mistakes. This individual approached us and engaged us for what was supposed to be simple security work. Strong arms, quick blades, to see that his endeavors were kept private and were not interrupted by any of his rivals or competitors. And when I say this individual engaged us, I should clarify. I did not speak with the person who commissioned us. I dealt with a middleman. He took great pains to conceal his true identity. He told me his name, which turned out to be false. I had him followed and was able to determine who he actually is. His name was Dervin Solzig. And he is a man who works for the family Zealous. And when he says that name, those of you who've spent some time around Zobek kind of perk up, because that is a name well known. That is one of the more influential families in the city. They're not up, top tier necessarily of the, for lack of a better term, aristocratic families of Zobek, but they're a force to be reckoned with. Zealous, they tend to deal in, and Glaz and Riodan, you guys would know this for sure, they tend to deal in botanicals, rare plants, both importing them and greenhousing and growing them here in Zobek, and a lot of those plants are used for alchemy and spell component purposes.
It's interesting. The more you know.
I'm not certain who among the Zealous family engaged our services, but I'm certain that the individual sent to do the negotiations and handle the payment works for them.
Do you know what he looks like?
Yes, I do believe I can get you a description of him. Sure. And he kind of leans back and takes a long drink from his mug, and he says, he's a human. He's a young man, perhaps not yet 30. He is slight of build, but very quick. And I got the sense that he is stronger than his frame would betray. I suspect that he is no stranger to blade work. He has bright blonde hair and blue eyes. Curiously, though, one of his eyes is quite a bit lighter than the other.
Which one?
The right, I believe it was.
What is that condition called again? It starts with a C.
I'm writing down his description because I'm hunting
Yep.
him now.
Yep.
Oh no, Hedo. I can't say that. I'm just gonna put it in chat.
I mean, that's a lot of information.
Consider it an offering in good faith.
I'm not looking to join an organization, but if you need some third-party assistance with something, you can gladly contact me, and I'll see if I'm available to help you out with the work.
He considers that for a moment, and he nods once in just maybe like a slightly disappointed but accepting fashion, and he says, well, should you ever change your mind, you can leave message for me here, and occasionally at the Wheat Chief Tavern, if not down in the Cartways Black Market, if you feel like getting a little dirty.
Oh, I never get dirty.
I
Indeed.
look at him like that is a bold-faced lie, but I say nothing. Kind of once again taking my cup and putting it to my face, but this time not in the defense of my friend.
And my offer, of course, is open and extended to each of you, as well as your other friend, the one with the owl, not present.
Where has he been?
I don't know, but with Kane, who can be certain?
The owl is
Just
flying
kind of-
somewhere.
Just kind of. So he finishes his drink, and he says, well, I think perhaps that's enough for tonight. I'm feeling a bit sporting, so I'm going to take my leave. With your kind permission, of course.
Oh,
Have a good
Enjoy.
So he, it was a great pleasure to meet you as well. One question. Do you have a moniker, a name that you call yourselves? that I might know you collectively by?
We totally don't have one of those yet.
Oh, it's that time.
Wait,
So he's sort of
The time that
next week.
sort of
answer. And that's
he looks at the pregnant pause and smiles knowingly and says, well, perhaps something to consider then. It seems like you might be worth branding a little bit. And he sort of taps the side of his neck, which maybe that makes your skin crawl a little bit when he taps his, very intricate tattoo there. And he says, a pleasant evening to you all. And he turns and heads off into the silk scabbard. And that is where we will leave it for this evening.
Why don't we have a name yet?
We gotta think of a name real quick. It's this is episode 14. We've got like a couple more left in the season.
it's the first group where it hasn't we stumbled upon something. We've kind of just been blundering our way through.
We'll take submissions. We can take these via the Discord. There's the World Tree Burns has its own channel there in Discord, so throw out some name suggestions to us over the course of next week, and maybe by the time it comes to next week, we've got some ideas that we can throw around and can't want to answer Mr. Frick's question. But holy moly! Oh, one other thing as well. As we are wrapping up tonight, I'm opening up the giveaway for the tabletop loot dice. So exclamation point loot in chat.
Loot.
But man, big thank you again goes to Kobold Press for sponsoring and supporting tonight's show. If you want to check it out for yourselves, go ahead and do so. Midgard is awesome and it's great fun, and we're coming towards the end.
Please don't. And I was
please don't. Whatever you do, check it out. Don't check it out. I don't know which way is up. But yeah, definitely go and check it out. It's been a lot of fun. We're coming towards the end of this season of the World Tree Burns. And we've got some exciting news coming up about a possible next season. So, but let's go around the cast and crew. Holy moly, that was fun. Did we enjoy ourselves? And of course, where can we find you wonderful folks online? Dan, Dylan, fab job as always. How was that one?
Oh, thank you very much. I had a great time tonight. It was cool, mopping up some loose ends from last week, which ended on a ragged cliffhanger, and yeah, getting back into dealing with Thrick and seeing what his deal is, and I think maybe defying a few expectations of what he and that whole deal would be like. So yeah, that was a blast for me. Thank you very much, guys. I look forward to this every week. I can be found on the Twitter at Dan_Dylan_1, right above my name there, if you're watching us on the live. I love chatting D&D. I love talking about Rangers and anything you want to talk about. So hit me up on there anytime. Talk Midgard, talk D&D in general, whatever's.
I play a Ranger.
I know! We have 2 Rangers in this game. So happy.
I play a Ranger. We never talk about it. Great stuff. Tia, how was that?
That was really, really good. I enjoyed this episode a lot, especially the freaky, weird bathhouse bonding that we did with the whole slapping of chunks of dead body. I'm surprised that. Yeah, I'm really surprised actually about the Blackguard approaching us, and like part of the back of my brain is going like, this is a trap, this is a horrible idea. But on the other hand, that guy's just so fucking charming. It's like, I'll do whatever you ask me to. Like, sure, let's fucking do it.
Noted.
I don't know.
He's the George Clooney of Midgard.
So this was amazing, and I spent a lot of time actually reading up on a lot more Midgard stuff today. I was posting some of the spells in chat today. You guys really need to get this. And welcome to Fragged, who is asking about the is it Clockwork? No, not Clockwork. I'm thinking Clockwork Orange. Gearforge. There we go. The Gearforge people. Like, there's just so much going on in Midgard that is totally different than any other world setting and super involving, and you guys should definitely check it out. I'm Laura Lanya. You can find me here on Tuesdays all fucking day, because this is my roleplay home of choice, and I'm stealing Will's moniker as the world's greatest role player, so he's always super thrilled when I say that. And you can join Discord here on Encounter Roleplay and check that out. And I might be streaming in like 15 minutes with our dear friend Zippy, who sometimes comes here on Encounter Roleplay as well. We might go play some
World of Warcraft on EU Airy Peak. So if you play WoW, come and join us. And if you want to know how to do that, join the Encounter Roleplay Discord, and we'll tell you how.
We should probably have a channel for that. Encounter Roleplay Discord.
Yeah, I think so, because we keep advertising at places.
Yeah, I'll go do that. Awesome. Tall Squall, how was that?
Always a blast. Always fun to play Glaz. Always interesting. I got a giant bunch of lore. And speaking of cool things to Midgard, I have a geomancer who does leyline magic, which is from their deep magic supplements and also in their world book. And tonight found a rune from their rune magic deep magic stuff. So you'll be seeing more of that stuff in the way magic works a little differently in Midgard, but it's still all D&D coolness. So it's familiar and not like whole new systems, but lots of new and interesting spells. Also, it turns out all 4 of the spells in the notes are things that Glaz can cast. So he's going to be scribbling those down into his spell book and have lots of new shadow options in his repertoire. So that's kind of cool. I am Tall Squall. You can find me all over the internet as Tall Squall. Finding me here on this channel, on the Dungeons and Dragons channel, coming up on Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern time, and also on my own channel at 2 o'clock on Saturdays for my campaign that we run 100% for charity. If you would like to come and check it out, it's called The Vice. See you all around. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome stuff. And last but not least, McCloken.
Hi. You might recognize me from How to Barter with Criminals or Infernal for Dummies. Welcome everyone. Thank you for hanging out. I do enjoy that you guys hung out. This was very a Cloak-centric episode. Cloak kind of sits back most of the time, makes wisecracks. But this episode, it was more like you got to see Cloak is kind of the talker of the group, which because he has advantage on persuasion rolls. And
he's also a fucking badass in combat, though, and I did not see that coming. Not gonna lie.
That was a little bit of strategy on my part because they lit up, and so he realized that they were hiding in the shadows, and it was really kind of a risky move because he knocked out the light and then he went to go watch. If any of them could see in the dark, he was going to get the fuck out of there. But since he had advantage in the darkness, that's when he started kind of fucking around with them, killed one, and then carved Infernal in his forehead. Which, if anyone could read that, he would be wary of that. But no one said anything that they could read it. So I put little things there just to see how people are. But
that fight was very well played, by the way.
Thank you. That's 26 years of D&D experience. I had a lot of fun tonight. I like playing Cloak. Cloak is very childlike, whimsical, and then when shit hits the fan, he's very much someone you want in your corner. And I liked the library scene, with the finding information and then kind of like trying to teach Kari. And I imagine it's like when sometimes Reardon listens to Glaz and he's like just in one ear out the other. But I like how the dynamics are forming. I say it every episode, but every week, the dynamics with the characters is so fascinating to me as they grow and the bonds grow. And now we really have to come up with the team name and also the possibility of joining a gang, because when he was propositioning us and people were just like, I was like, are we joining a fucking gang now? Holy fuck.
I kind of think we might be, though. I mean, think about the resources
I'd be a gangster
from them. I'm into it.
Reardan's been
Mercenary
like 3
company more than a
gangs.
gang. Yeah.
Three gangs since the start of this campaign.
Doing already.
Oh, holy shit, this game is fun. Where can we follow you, McLaughlin?
I got a show I run once a week on mixer.com/storyquest, and I'm on a few other shows. just follow me at my Twitter, at McCloakin, and then you can find out what crazy shenanigans I'm up to on Twitter. And I also tweet out a show Metamancer does, my lovely partner in crime. She's doing a show Thursday nights here called the King's Hustle, City of Mist campaign. I like shouting that one out because I love City of Mist, and I love her campaign storytelling. So please come back here and watch that. Wonderful show.
like Gangs of Midgard, Gangs of Zobek.
Gangs of Zobek.
Our next season, like we totally like got badass like crew poses on the posters. Yeah, I'm about that.
I've been trying to think of a name this entire time, and I can't come up with shit for us because we're such a bunch of fucking whack jobs.
I am taking a week. I mean, it could be whack jobs, you know, but that might come off the wrong way.
Take a little time, sleep on it, get your brain juices back, and then chat on it on the Discord or on our group direct message.
Yes, if you guys aren't in the Discord, definitely come in and join us. We're back tomorrow on Encounter Roleplay at the time of 1 p.m. Eastern, and it's Call of Cthulhu. It is the official Call of Cthulhu stream now, which is fucking dope. We've got episode 1 of Masks of Nyarlathotep, which I am super nervous but super excited about. So come and join us then. Come and support the fantastic crew who has been working with me for the past year on making Call of Cthulhu a thing here on the channel, and Chaos who are supporting us, and it's the official live stream, so I'm super excited. So come and join us tomorrow. Also I'll put announcements out tomorrow, but there's no Warhammer and there's no Star Trek tomorrow, and that's because people are traveling and or sick, but we do have Call of Cthulhu ones, we'll see then. The winner for the tabletop loot dice is horribly bad at this. Congratulations, my friend, on winning a
Congrats.
You're apparently not that bad.
Nice. Apparently not bad enough. Try harder. We're gonna go host and rate a random person. Oh wait, who's that? My girlfriend Sydney. She's streaming right now. Crazy.
So she's
Oh wow, what are the odds? Let's go out right now. So go and enjoy the stream. We'll see you in a minute over there. Let's love you guys. Until next time, try to show too many down ones. We want to be laughing when you do. Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Join gangs of your friends. Bye.
The cloak and daggers. The cloak.